If you've ever fed a wild animal some food and it remembered and came back the next day and the day after, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. This episode is for Wednesday, May 28th. We're going to have a couple of earnings that we're going to talk about. Got a couple of economic data points here today, including the minutes, but the big event, Nvidia earnings tonight. We're also going to get CRM and AI earnings tonight. So, we'll break that down. We'll see how the market trades ahead of that. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, May 28th begins right now. Hello and welcome back. And indeed, Crimp Biscuit, good morning, by the way. Happy hump day. Happy hump day to all of you out there. Hope you're having a great week. We're already at Wednesday here. So if we can just get through today and survive these Nvidia earnings, we're going to be in the back half of the week, ready to coast into the weekend again. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. As mentioned, good morning, Crimp Biscuit. Pete, good morning. Good to have you again. Brett, top of the morning. Love the Irish inflection there. I know my producer appreciates that as well. Producer, really quickly, do you have like a big Irish top hat? Just out of curiosity, just wondering. Thinking about it, good morning. Great to have you back here today. Ivan, good morning. Jonathan, good morning. Couch Potato, good morning. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Jim, good morning. It's great to have you here again, as always. Reaching Financial Freedom. Absolutely love it. Good morning. Yasso Fine, welcome back. Good morning. Brian, Yassine, and Sean, good morning. Yassine, is it going to rain all day here today? Are we going to be able to get outside or what? We'll see. Charles, good morning. Big Milkshake Trading, good morning. I really do like that name. Charles saying, I can't wait to get into it today. I killed it on CoreWeave yesterday and left the third on the table. We're going to start out with an early registering. That is awesome. And I love the enthusiasm. I love how you're trying to get back in there. That's awesome. Day Trader, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Shanlu Trading, good morning. Hickam, good morning. Let's see, who am I missing here? Rooster, CA Forsman, good morning. CA Forsman, long QBTS, trading the quantum names yet again here. How about that? 3D locked in. Good morning, 3D. Great to have you back. Javon, good morning. Beautiful day yesterday. Let's keep it up. Hey, I like the positivity. We will absolutely roll that forward here. Monica, good morning. It's great to see you. Seahorse, good morning. Philip, good morning. JJ, what's going on, buddy? Stock Trader, good morning. Buglog, good morning. Terlingua, good morning. Wis, Aramis, good morning. And producer may have a big green Irish top hat. I thought he might. That would be something to see someday. We just missed St. Patrick's Day, unfortunately. Ryan, good morning. Come down to Mississippi and I'll show you some awesome courses. Yes, you had me at awesome courses and Mississippi. So that will work. Diamond Hotline, good morning. It's great to see you. Bilal, good morning. Great to see you. Okay, let's take a look at the SPY. Also take a look at some of the stocks reporting earnings here today. Abercrombie and Macy's both reporting and trading higher. That's odd, isn't it? I thought the consumer, all of that, nonetheless. We'll get into it. Jonathan, good morning. New FINRA data effective today. Okay, Charles, good morning. In fact, here, let's just go ahead and do this. Jonathan, I will check to see if we have our short interest data. I did ping the team yesterday. They said they were going to update it. So we'll see if we got it updated here today. Chris, good morning. And Charles, good morning. If I didn't catch you already. Graf, good morning. Great to have all of you back. It's great to see you here. Okay, starting with the SPY. Here we go. Good morning, Big Bees. We have a bunch of trend lines. And the trend lines, the trend lines have really been working. So we've got a couple here, and we are, good morning, Gary, and we are going to figure out which direction we're going to go here. Well, first of all, we have the trend line going from the all-time high to the recent high here, and it sure looks like we're going to test that here. S&P futures up 0.01, actually 0.09% right now. So S&P futures just turned green. It was red earlier, but went green here. Dow futures about to go green. Looks like they're still in the red, and NASDAQ leading the way higher, plus 0.2. So a little bit mixed here, relatively flat-ish, but we are up off the lows from the pre-market already. Does look like this trend line is going to get tested here. I've got that value at about 593.5, currently sitting here at 591.5 in the pre-market. The other thing that we've done is we've drawn this trend line on some of the lows here that we've created, including the one from Friday, where that tested the 200-day and held. And so really what I'm looking for here is which direction of this makeshift triangle do we break out of? Do we break up and maybe go towards 600? We'll see. Or do we break down and attack some of these moving average lines? Frankly, I think Nvidia is going to hold the key. This is one of the things that I was saying yesterday. This is the biggest event of the week. We talked to Happy Hour about this last night, or the folks in Happy Hour about this last night. Sure seems like this might dictate where we go here this week in lieu of other news. So it's the big event. It's what we're waiting for. Here's what I'm looking at on the SPY. I'm encouraged to see the SPY a little bit higher here in the pre-market. But again, we've got an entire session to go through prior to the Nvidia earnings. And we will take a look at some of those retailer earnings here in a little bit. Let me start here with some of the news here. U.S. stocks likely to open lower ahead of Nvidia's Q1 earnings. Well, boy, oh boy, that has turned around since the story was published a few hours ago. Again, we'll see what's going on here. Investors will eye technology bellwether Nvidia first quarter earnings, which will be announced after the market closes. The S&P 500 broke a 4-day losing streak on Tuesday as the markets opened after a long weekend following Memorial Day. Stock got a boost from President Trump's extension of the 50% tariffs on Sunday till July 9th, which he initially announced on Friday, that sent us tumbling. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.47%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.96%. A couple of insights that we have talked about here recently. Urian Timmer, the director of global macro at Fidelity Investments, explained that in his note that the market was range-bound, which is also something that we've been talking about here. Interesting to see what his range is. And the lower and upper boundaries for the market have been set. He highlighted that stocks were down 20% and they have recovered since. Quote, that suggests while the lower boundary for this market correction may have been established, so has the upper boundary, end quote. All this puts me firmly in the trading range camp in terms of what the next 6 to 12 months will bring. I suspect that this range might be defined by the April low of 48.35 as the lower boundary. That's about the 480 low on SPY that we talked about around Liberation Day. And the recent highs of 6,000 as the upper boundary. That's SPY 600, which has been a key level really since we tested and broke it the first time. If Timmer's range-bound market forecast holds, the cyclical bull market that began in October of 2022 likely concluded in February of 2025 after 30 months. Do you folks think this happened? Just out of curiosity, wondering where you folks sit on this. He added that, quote, a new modest bear market is now underway. This is, I think, the first call that I've heard for this. Correct me if I've missed one of those. Quote, bear markets consist of both price and time element. And if this one lasts 6 to 12 months, it would meet both conditions. Interesting. We're going to have Tim Melvin on. Tim Melvin has been talking about this. So it does look like this is kind of lining up with some other predictions as well. Meanwhile, Fabio Bossi. I mean, if your name is Fabio, you pretty much have your life cut out for you, I feel like. Fabio Bossi, JP Morgan's head of cross-asset strategy, also told CNBC that the S&P 500 could, quote, remain range-bound with limited short-term upside, end quote. Article for that is actually in here. If you want that, I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat. Quote, the rally to our bull case scenario of 5,800 for the S&P 500 has played out, but from here, we expect a consolidation and range-bound dynamic. Interesting. We'll see what Tom Lee has to say about that. Meanwhile, Ed Yardeni said in his note that, quote, a widely feared global sovereign debt crisis has been postponed another day, end quote. The yields on super long Japanese government bonds fell sharply on Tuesday after Reuters reported that the country's finance ministry might issue fewer of these bonds. He explained that this, quote, helped to bring down the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield from 4.51 on Friday to 4.46 on Tuesday. We had a Bloomberg outage. This was I think on Wednesday of last week, the 21st. We actually heard from one of the gentlemen in Happy Hour that talks with some of the bond traders that the bond traders just weren't even around. It's one of the reasons that the Treasury yields went up. Of course, that never got reported. It just got blamed on Trump. But the Bloomberg outage actually created no bids for one of those really nasty bond auctions. Now, I asked what this means going forward because we can't go back in time and do anything about it. The answer going forward was we really have to watch the rest of these bond auctions, because if they say something different than what the last one said, then we can attribute the last one's performance mostly to the outage. If they say something similar, that might be a data point on its own. Not something that I follow a whole lot, but something I'm going to be diving into a little bit more. So just figured I'd share that with you as well. Okay. And I see the news here, Ryan mentioning that GameStop bought a ton of Bitcoin. Indeed, they're actually trading higher on that. We talked about that news a little bit yesterday. Now they're actually adding to the treasury. Let me know if that makes you bullish on GameStop. Who's buying GameStop because of Bitcoin on the treasury? I'd be interested to hear that. Okay, some more news here real quick. Dell early Blackwell shipments. This has to do with Nvidia here. We can also take a look at Dell if you'd like, though. Dell's early Blackwell shipments of thousands of GPUs a week may lift Nvidia margins and boost the Q2 guidance. Now, what we have talked about pretty consistently, in addition to Nvidia really kind of dominating the events here today, a lot of it is going to be about the guide. I think one of the big surprises here this morning is that both Macy's and Abercrombie trading up after lowering their guide, and that kind of flies in the face of what we've seen throughout earnings season. Now, obviously, Abercrombie and Macy's not even remotely comparable to Nvidia. So I want to still say that the guide is going to be the most important part of the earnings report here today. And I suspect that if we have a positive guide here, this stock is going to trade higher. Well, that would be my guess right now. We'll see if that shakes out. Nonetheless, on Tuesday, NVIDIA published a blog post on one of its Dell Technologies U.S. factories, which says it can ship, quote, thousands of Blackwell GPUs to customers in a week, end quote. Dell's partnership with NVIDIA essentially involves supplying racks, cooling, storage, and mounted ladder-priced GPUs. Volume growth reported by Dell can thus be seen as a reflection of demand dynamics and AI infrastructure, while also serving as a proxy for NVIDIA's momentum. This is something that we have talked about at great length here. In the blog post, NVIDIA mentions an order of 100,000 units of Blackwell GPUs by CoreWeave, which is set for delivery within the next 6 weeks, worth over $3 billion. I just want to stop here and congratulate everybody for trading CoreWeave recently. I know we had a couple of people trying to short it there. It sounded like all of you folks had good plans in case it went against you, and indeed, it went against you. We actually printed 125 as the intraday high. We were actually at 127 here in the pre-market. At some point, I do think CoreWeave has to turn around. Really, the question is going to be when. For those of you that have traded CoreWeave to the long side, great job. Pretty much all the way up. This thing has been an absolute monster. Kind of reminds me of Palantir. Nonetheless, this comes amid the export curbs on China, which are expected to hit the company's earnings to the tune of $5.5 billion, resulting in the first earnings estimate decline in years. In addition to geopolitical headwinds, the company was weighed down by the persistent technical issues with the GB200 Blackwell racks, resulting in delayed shipments. 13 and I we tried to cover some of the problems with the graphics cards for the personal computing side, which obviously is a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of the AI revenues. But we tried to cover some of the problems that NVIDIA was going through here. We think eventually this is going to catch up with the company. Really, the only question is when. However, these issues were resolved by the company's partners, Hanhai Precision Industry, Inventec, and Wistron Corporation, and Dell through a series of technical breakthroughs, allowing them to ramp up production towards the tail end of the first quarter, according to a report by the Financial Times. While analysts expect the company's gross margins to drop from 71% to 58% as a result of the China hit, even just a sliver of high-margin Blackwell silicon accruing towards the end of the quarter can help soften the blow. It'll be really interesting to see what they report here today. I'm seeing SMCI getting mentioned in the chat. You know what? Let me add that to the list here. SMCI is definitely one that we should take a look at here today. This is likely going to trade with NVIDIA. Big B's, I think yesterday you brought up a really great point that it was SMCI's accounts receivables that really started to flash some of the red flags. And it'll be interesting to see if we have any of that with NVIDIA. I think and I'm going off of memory, so pardon me if I butcher any of this, but I believe that you were saying that it looked like they had a bunch of orders. They had product that they were shipping out, but they weren't receiving any payment for that. I think that's where the discrepancy was. It'll be interesting to see if any of that changes here for NVIDIA. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but again, this was something that was discussed yesterday. We'll absolutely take a look at the SMCI. Similarly, in addition to this, NVIDIA has unlocked several other tailwinds in recent weeks that should help offset the losses from the China export curbs, starting with a potential $7 billion chip deal with Japan in a bid to reduce the nation's massive trade surplus with the United States, which stands to benefit the company significantly. This comes just days after a mega 18,000 chip deal with Saudi Arabia's AI startup Humane, backed by the kingdom's public investment fund. The company also plans to release a significantly cheaper AI chip, which we covered yesterday, for the Chinese market in a bid to circumvent U.S. export restrictions. So it does seem like NVIDIA is doing everything they can. Really, the question is, how long will it take? This, however, is expected to take a while to materialize, with the company stating that, quote, until we settle on a new product design and receive approval from the U.S. government, we are effectively foreclosed from China's $50 billion data center market. This really makes the guide in this extremely important. So we'll see how NVIDIA does with that. We'll see if any of these also, or any of these kind of side deals here really kind of play in to any of this. Let me go back to the SPY here real quick. I did want to take a quick look here at NVIDIA. We'll start with NVIDIA as we do. YouTube poll is up. NVIDIA earnings beat or miss revenue EPS. Beat, miss, miss. Get your votes in. Appreciate that. I'm curious to see how this thing trades. Also, I might have another poll idea for you here coming up shortly. What time is it? Okay, 8:17. We got plenty of time here. We should have Tim pretty soon, but I got another idea for a poll. Here's NVIDIA's chart. It does look like it's kind of flagging here. I'll be honest with you, just kind of eyeballing the chart here, it looks like this wants to trade higher. 141 seems to be a key level. We have it marked at 140.96, but 141 likely to be a key level here. We do have 138-ish being a key level. I expect both of these to kind of get run through here today. What I will say is that if we are not able to get above this 138, you can see here going back to September of last year, this is without a doubt our biggest volume shelf. If we're not able to get above this area, I think this probably retreats, and I wouldn't be shocked if we end up peaking below or testing below the 200. That value is at 126.50. So we'll see if we trade beneath that there at all. Now, Dell was the other stock that I wanted to take a look at real quick. Dell, we have a pretty decent chart here on Dell. We've got another triangle that looks like it is about to fall. And I'll tell you what, my gut tells me, or just at least from eyeballing the chart, sure looks like this too wants to trade higher. We are at a inflection point here for Dell. Going back to February of last year, our volume point of control just shy here of 116. Stocks at 114. We got the top end of the triangle here. These go back to the May 30th, 2024 high, as well as the November 25th, 2024 high, and then the recent high. Let's see if Dell can snap through this. Maybe we'll trade higher here. Once we do, we can come up with some other key levels here. We do have this gap that I would be watching. That is 130 up to 141-ish. If we get into that gap, maybe Dell starts to accelerate. So a lot riding on today's report. We'll see how this goes, not just for Nvidia, but for some others. Yasin here in the chat, would you trade AMD as well for Nvidia earnings or after? Can we look at Okta? So we could definitely look at Okta here. They reported earnings. They got hit yesterday. That's cybersecurity. So we can definitely take a look at that. Would I trade AMD? Not through the print. I might trade AMD after the print. But it's just too much of a wild card here for me with Nvidia on that. I do think that AMD does have some catch up to do, and I think that they have a avenue for doing that for the first time in a while. We'll see if that materializes. Okay, real quick, I wanted to get to one more thing here before we get to Tim. See. Yeah, let me just do this real quickly here. This is something that we had discussed recently that we are going to discuss again. Tesla versus Waymo. This seems to be heating up here, and I am all about it. I know we've got folks on both sides of this one. Their first head-to-head competition for robo-taxis is about to take place, and Ross Gerber's got some thoughts about it. He wants you to know. The autonomous vehicle market is witnessing its first direct competition as Tesla prepares to launch robo-taxis in Austin next month, while Alphabet's Waymo expands testing across multiple U.S. cities. Now, Ross Gerber, CEO of Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management, characterized the Austin launch as a pivotal moment. Quote, I find it fascinating to watch the different approaches to autonomy from Tesla and Waymo, with the launch of Austin, the first head-to-head competition of robo-taxis, and how the business economics evolve, end quote. That came from a post there on social media. The competition highlighting contrasting strategies. Waymo operates a centralized approach with dedicated autonomous vehicles, while Tesla pursues a distributed fleet model using existing Model Y vehicles equipped with FSD. Waymo recently announced reaching 10 million autonomous paid riders, doubling that milestone in 5 months. The company is conducting road trip tests in San Antonio, Orlando, and Houston to enhance its autonomous driving capabilities beyond current operational cities. Now, before 13 gets here and before he's given a chance to defend himself, I think what we should do is we should orchestrate some homework for him. It sounds to me like Houston is going to be one of the cities that Waymo is going to test in. So what we should do is have our lovely co-host actually go on one of these rides and deliver some boots on the ground experience from the autonomous ride. So producer, we may have to put a poll up here. We may have to get enough votes so that we can then use that votes and viewer leverage to force 13 into doing this for us. Like I said, it's really important that we do this while he's not here, so he cannot defend himself. Producer, you let me know if you can get any of this. You let me know if you can get any of this put together here. Aside from that, Gerber remains skeptical of Tesla's readiness. Looks like Gerber and Day Trader are doing some talking here together. The investment manager recently criticized Tesla's full self-driving 13.2.9 technology, citing mapping issues and erratic lane-changing behavior. Quote, Google is better, end quote. We're going to see. I love that they're going head-to-head here. Gerber Kawasaki dumped over 26,000 Tesla shares in the first quarter of 2025, representing 10% of the firm's stake, according to Business Insider. Tesla CEO Elon Musk promises 10 to 20 Model Ys will function as robo-taxis on launch day. So this is good. I'm joking around a little bit about the back and forth war there. None of that. You know, we're just having fun here. The reality is that it's going to be good to see two of these competitors pitted against one another. It is my hope that the tide raises for all of them based on this competition. Maybe that's a little bit naive. That's what I'm hoping for. Would love to see how this goes. Remember, if you wanted to trade the Waymo angle, you would probably use Goog to do that, Goog. We've been successful with some of our Google trades recently. We'll see if that sets up for another trade here. Otherwise, Tesla had kind of a rough pre-market here today. We had the Starship launch yesterday. I actually didn't watch it. I am going to have 13 kind of summarize that for us, but looks like Tesla was trading down here and now moving back to balance. We are actually higher here now. We were lower today, and now we are above yesterday's closing price. So, okay, should be fun here. Here's a look at your Google chart, by the way. I have no position on this, and I'm kind of disappointed because it does look like this wants to take off. Again, maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm wearing bullish colored glasses, if that's a thing, but it sure looks like this stock wants to take off. Okay, it is Wednesday. It's time for our friend Tim Melvin. Let's go ahead and not waste any more time and bring him on. Tim, good morning. Happy Wednesday, my man. How are you doing on this lovely Wednesday?
We are just living the dream. It looks like the rain may finally stop down here. We've just had this like weird weather pattern where we've had nothing but rain for the last few days. But Ryan, I'm really worried about the economic impact of driverless taxis.
Tell me about it.
Well,
so first of all, just so you're aware, I'm glad that you're getting your reprieve, but it looks like you're sending your rain to the Chicago area, which I'm less than thrilled about. So I'm glad that it's good for you, but you kind of screwed us.
Being from a weather point of view, to send it from the southeast to the Midwest is damn near impossible. I'm not taking the rap for that one. Well, but anyway,
I'm sticking to it. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. I have some real concerns about this. First off, from everything I've heard, Waymo is ahead of Tesla. We'll see. The experiment will be interesting. But this is going to gut a large segment of the economy. The inability to rob taxi drivers in major Northeast cities is just going to devastate an entire swath of the economy.
What? I might need a little bit of context for that one. I have never once robbed a cabbie in my life, so you're going to have to draw me a map.
No, but there's a whole bunch of folks that do. Anyway, bad joke. It apparently died. But I am fascinated to see how the driverless taxis do end up working. I don't think this is going to be as smooth as we're all hoping for.
Me either.
But it should be interesting. I think the real question has to be is not who wins, it's who wrecks the most taxis in downtown Austin, totally screwing up traffic for hours. It's going to be fast. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
No, it is. There's a couple of good points here really quick. First of all, I'm just completely on the side of Mama Bear here. I love my car. I don't want full self-drive. I don't want this.
That's one of the big drawbacks.
Yeah.
Always has
I like it. I literally don't want this, right? So I accept that I actually might be in the minority there, but I'm with you, Mama Bear. We'll see. Ivan bringing up a pretty good point here, and I've actually thought about this. I think Ivan's spot on. Like it or not, once the kids grow up in a driverless world, it's over. And I can completely see this, right? I can completely, just watching how kids are now with phones and computers and how much they rely on that stuff. You start training kids that driverless cars, you get this and that. And I agree. I think that this will really start to change the dynamic, and I don't like it, to be very clear. Maybe I'm going to be the last human driver out there. I don't know.
I mean, it's a shame that kid's growing up without ever feeling what it's like to get into a hopped up Mopar with a massive engine in that sucker and turn the key over. That's just very, very upsetting to me, because that's part of America. But you're not alone, by the way. In a lot of surveys, Americans do not want to give up their cars, especially those of a certain age. Now, my youngest age, they could care less. They just as soon really not drive. So, and that's been bizarre. Kids are getting their driver's license at later and later ages these days. It's very strange.
Yeah, and then there's another. You guys are. I love that our chat is just so on here. Eric mentioning, how would auto insurance policies change with autonomous cars? Jonathan says drivers will pay through the nose for insurance. Self-driving will lower the insurance. So it almost. And Mama Bear is saying this might price out some of the drivers.
This is going to be fascinating, Ryan, because the insurance company's already on this one. All right. They're all studying this. Day to day, you may have fewer fender benders. That could happen as the technology gets better. However, this is going to go from where accidents are fender benders to where accidents are mass casualty events, right? Because if you have one of these things that somebody develops the ability to hack driverless cars. Think about the Los Angeles freeway at rush hour being hacked. The
I'd
major
rather not. It gives me anxiety.
the major concern from an auto insurance point of view is that when something goes wrong, it's going to go really wrong. There are going to be big, major events, kind of turning what is a fairly predictable loss ratio business in auto insurance into something like catastrophic hurricane insurance. So really, it's a major game changer for how the insurance companies will look at insuring automobiles. So
Yep.
lots of implications beyond just hopping in the cab to get a ride home.
I'm with you on that. Mom Bear goes on to say, this is why insurance rates are going up. They are purposely pricing us out. Goes on to call those people evil. They priced me out of my car. I will agree with you. Quinn here, also the end of true freedom. Remember, the car really did represent American freedom, the ability to just hop in and travel. Did a lot of that, and wondering if that's ending. I certainly don't want this. I certainly don't want this. Okay.
All right. Let's get to
Yeah,
some.
what's got for us?
Let's. Well, I've been playing around with the Benzinga Pro, the new capabilities with the rankings and a little bit of momentum in the trend, and it's really fascinating. If you guys are not using this, you need to start using this pretty much right away. This is an incredible tool. The way this is shaping up, Ryan. I mean, it's just. But for instance, I sat down this morning and I went looking for the stocks that have a value ranking of over 90. Now, when I designed the value rankings, it's a composite ranking. We use several different value indicators, including price to book, price to free cash flow, enterprise value to earnings before interest and taxes, price to sales. It's a composite ranking of cheap. So we're looking for companies that are trading at bargain prices. Now, we get a very interesting list of companies, but now value traps are a thing, right? Where you find a company that looks undervalued and it just sits there forever and ever and ever and never does anything. So you want to try to avoid that. So let's add a momentum filter. So we get the very highest by value ranking. And then because of the way Benzinga Pro produces this screen, I don't know if you want to show everybody right or not, but
I got
now all the rankings are up there. So I've got value rankings set at 90, and I'm just going to come over and just sort them on momentum very easily.
All right. So really quickly, what we did here, it's very important to follow along with what Tim said. We actually did not even apply a filter for momentum. We did apply one for value as he outlined. But now what we're able to do is we're able to add momentum right to the results list here and sort it by that. First stock I have here, ticker LX at the top of the list.
Yes, that is correct. Now, here's where this gets interesting. And it's like, even if you never take a trade off of here, although there's trades on here from this perspective, if you start to look down most of the companies here, LX is a Chinese company. CY, Chinese company. JFIN, Chinese company. Coffee Holding, I don't really know the company that well. Mind, MIND. If I'm not mistaken, that's psychedelics. It's always good to see game-changing drugs in the top 10 in our screens early in the morning. EDN is that is the Argentinian electric utility company. So you're making a big bet there on the continued success of that nation to come back from all the damage that's been done to it. They're on the way, but with the usual Latin America style protests in the street because there's been some economic pain in getting it done. However, the economy is getting better. An economy that gets better is very good for the electric utilities. STRT, I love this company. I've owned it before. I will own it again. Someday it's going to get bought out, and I hope that I own it when it does. It's got if you're a momentum person, it's a very nice little chart right now.
I mean, this stock right here is so far of the ones we've taken a peek at, Tim, this one really looks awesome. 95 rating on momentum, 92 on value, 93 on quality. We are currently in a short, medium, and long-term uptrend. The only value that this doesn't have is a ton of growth. And it's not even a terrible reading. That's not even that bad in this environment.
No, it's not growing at a rapid rate. And sometimes I think that people look at the word security and think that this is a cybersecurity stock. It's not. They make locks. And I mean literal electronic and keyed locks. for cars, and they sell to OEMs. They do steering column locks, instrument panel,
Ignition lock housings, access control
right?
products.
And they sell to just about every major car brand. And if you look, I mean, who's the biggest shareholder? Well, who owns all the auto parts companies? Mario Gabelli, naturally. But you've
Mhm.
got Pacific Ridge Capital Partners. I mean, you've got some serious players in this stock that recognize that at 10 times earnings, this is a really good business. It's less than five times free cash flow, so it's producing massive cash. They're sitting on a lot of cash, and the stock is just in this fabulous uptrend. So this is not a stock. It's a $222 million market cap. And I would bet that most people on the call this morning have never run across this company before. But this is setting up very nicely for a continued trade. And then I'm going to come down the line a little bit since somebody bought up insurance companies. Here's UVH, it's Universal Insurance Holdings. They do homeowners insurance in Florida. And the bet here is that if you don't have a devastating hurricane in Florida, it's like printing money. It's because you're priced for a hurricane, right? If you're able to reinsure off enough of the losses during the bad years, the good years are going to carry you to a very lumpy 15 to 20% long-term return on equity, which you can see they're actually achieving almost 17 when you start to dig into this thing. Uh, Universal Insurance Holdings is just in a strong uptrend. It's been in a strong uptrend.
Yep.
And I know somebody said earlier on the chat that insurance companies are evil. They are no more evil than a casino. And it's the exact same pricing algorithms that would go into this. Insurance is a bet, and it's the pricing of that bet is based on actual loss ratios on a very law of large numbers. So if a person of this age, this gender, with this much driving experience, that has had this many accidents before, and is in this population center, this is what the insurance costs. And by the way, we're going to add some on for profit. And it's depending where you live, it's not an evil business, but it can sure seem like it at times. I know that moving to Greensboro, North Carolina, my auto insurance and my homeowner's insurance both dropped by more than half, just because I moved from a high risk population center to this population center. Insurance is actually a really good business, and you can kind of see it here in Universal Insurance Holdings.
Yeah, part of me wonders, I've always wondered what my insurance would be like if I moved out of where I live. That's interesting to hear.
It was, we knew it would go down. I was really stunned by how much it went down. I mean, it was pretty dramatic. So as you go through these listings, and I'm going to save us the trouble of going through all of them, but a couple of things really just jumped out at me when I did this morning. One, we're starting to see some bulk shippers like Euroseas, ESEA, and CMRE both made the list. Lots of foreign stocks, way more than U.S. stocks that are
Yep.
undervalued and starting to show some momentum. So this is just one of the ways you can use this. If you come over, let's take out the value ranking. Let's go to a quality ranking of 9.
Do we still want to sort on momentum?
Right now, to start, I want to short on market cap, because this is going to help by and the largest, because this is going to give you an idea what momentum's picking up. Okay.
Okay.
This is Nvidia. This is, all the larger cap companies. These are the very best companies. ASMA Holdings. They're the companies with continual high rates of return on capital, on equity, on assets. They're consistently profitable. That's what our quality rankings are looking to pick up. So now let's sort those on value. Where are the undervalued quality companies? Now, here's one that just jumps out. I mean, the first two companies are Korean. In POSCO Holdings and Korea Electric Power.
Wow, I'll tell you what. Oops, I had the wrong thing selected there. This PKX, this actually looks like this is at a significant long-term support level right here at 44.
Yeah, I mean, Korea is an interesting company. Really, they got hammered by trade discussions, and anytime China comes up, it's a problem for Korea. Um, but they are where Japan was about 5 years ago in terms of corporate governance. They've still got a lot of cross-holding ownership. They have very little attention being paid to shareholder value. But the government is now starting to do what Japan did 2 years ago. They're saying, look, guys, if we want foreign capital and we want to be able to grow this economy and attract investors, we can't all have cross of each other's shares so that nobody can take an activist position. Nobody can buy out an undervalued company. Nobody can lean on management. So we're starting to see some of these changes. So companies like Korean Electric Power, like POSCO, are starting to take the steps that will lead to an unlocking of shareholder value. And then, by the way, KT Corporation, same thing, which was on our last screen. So Korea is a market that is really kind of interesting. So now look, again, without trading the stock, we've picked up a lot about a little bit about shipping, a little bit about US stocks versus the world. Now we're picking up some information about Korea that we didn't possess before. And we only have this from the combination of price and value. And that's what Benzinga rankings now and Pro give you the ability to do. You can spot price and value trends instantly.
And so Tim, this is actually great. I'm glad that you decided to cover this here this morning. I was actually on a call with a long-term client of Benzinga yesterday, and he was asking me about these rankings. And what I just tried to convey to him was that this is basically 0 to 100. 100 is better, right? 100,
Right.
100 is higher, 100 is better. And once I explained that to him, he kind of played around with it for a little bit. His realization was, boy, this is extremely easy to use. I don't have to have specific values for weekly and daily moving averages and Petrovsky F score and price to sales and all of these different metrics. Instead, I can just punch in a couple of numbers here and really drill down to the things that are working, whether it be value, momentum, quality, or growth. So really impressed with how easy this is to use.
And here's the thing, and we talked about this last week on the call, right? There's eternal anomalies, momentum and value. And then quality or profitability is this huge factor in determining how long it takes value to recover and how long momentum lasts. You've got the tools here to build a phenomenal list. You want to do mean reversion? Fantastic. Let's do value rankings with a very low momentum score or quality rankings with a low momentum score. You can do some really cool stuff with these rankings as far as putting together a list. Now, here we've got quality. We sorted it by market cap. Now we've got it sorted by value. So now we've got a bunch of high quality businesses trading at very low multiples. Guys, let's put these in our trading filters. Right? That's, it's guys like John Bollinger and Larry Williams have done this for years. They sort by fundamentals and then they apply their known, proven technical systems and strategies to this universe. So you've got a universe with a high probability of going up. Now you've got technical patterns that give you the when, because the when is often just the real pain in the butt about all this.
Okay. Hey, that's
it's
awesome.
not awful. It's not awful, is it? Right?
No, it's not. And I'm just, again, my big thing, one of the things that we're just kind of going through here behind the scenes is, usability. Make everything easier to use. Make everything easier to understand, easier to use, faster. Hopefully that leads to more profits and all of that. This is a shining example of that. So
right. And just so you guys know, we didn't pull the numbers, out of the sky that we used to put the rankings together, because I put the rankings together, and it was based on a ton of research, years of just, sitting up late at night, crunching numbers of what works and what doesn't work. And we put all of that, basically 30 years of me just torturing Excel until it screamed and gave up. And, using the software packages as they got more and more sophisticated to figure out what works and then build it into a really easy to use ranking system. So this is just a really powerful tool, and you've got the short term and momentum trends that you can put in there now. It's app, and that's just so cool. If you look over to the side there, we can just go, what is the trend for some of these stocks, and it's just right there. Short term trend is up, medium term trend is up. You can also do a thing that I really like doing this. If we can, let's clear those out, Ryan, and go up to just go up to the trend rankings.
And I'm going to just get the filters out of here. Yep.
Okay. Now I do short-term trend up, medium and long-term trend down, and let's see what comes up.
What did I do wrong, Tim?
I'm not sure. That's why I had you do it. Just in case I got it wrong.
I see the strategy. I wonder if it's going to be case sensitive here. I have another way. There we go. It is case sensitive. That's what I did. Actually, you know what? Let me make a note of this because this is an easy thing to fix. Case sensitivity. Okay. Anyway, keep going.
Okay. So we're looking here, and all we're looking for is short stocks that have a strong positive short-term trend. And mine's not working now for some reason. It doesn't like me. Positive short-term trend, but negative long and medium-term trends. Now, I would also then add a filter in real practice where the stock was definitely up for the week, because I want to make sure that this is a stock that's moved over its 200-day moving average and is now moving towards its 50 and 200-day moving average. So it's a stock that is setting up to possibly break out.
Okay, you said you wanted it up on the week. How much did you want it up on the week?
Just up. Up is good.
Okay, we're going to do a minimum of 1% up. There we go.
Okay, so just up on that. Now we've got stocks that are starting to move higher. They've gotten over the 20-day, the traders moving average, as they like to call it, and now it's moving in the direction of the 50-day moving average. So we've got stocks that are coming off of a bottom. They're starting to move higher. They're over the 20-day. They're gunning for the 50-day. So you're over the 20-day. You trade up. You go over the 50-day. The stock's even better at that point in time. Goes over the 200-day. But if it turns back at any one of those points, then you stop out.
So that's actually a pretty good. This actually gives you kind of a trade plan along with it.
Right. That's what I'm trying to do is help you just kind of develop a trade plan in here. And again, I'm sorting on market cap. You've got Home Depot.
I can do the same thing. Tim, this is you and I have never gone over this before. This is actually awesome.
Yeah, I think this is, and then just put the other filters in. And not all of them, like Home Depot. If I was a trader, I'm not all that impressed by the Home Depot trend at the second, so I'm a pass. But this is damn sure giving me a shopping list.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. Absolutely. Best Buy is on this list right now, the way I have it here as well.
Yes. So, I mean, can just be an incredibly powerful tool to sit down in the morning and come up with a list of stocks. And, you could even set this, got the conditions, short-term trend is up, medium trend is down, long-term trend is down, but the value ranking is real high, or the quality ranking is real high. Whichever ones that you want in there, you can have. You can also, if you want it, you feel like the market's going down, flip this over, and then you've got the long-term trend is positive, but as is the intermediate term, and the short-term trend is down. You can play around with the time frames. These tools are really powerful. And that was kind of where I was trying to go this morning.
Yeah, no, this is great. We kind of dove into this a little bit more. Sorry if we went quickly. As a reminder, folks, you can always rewind this and go back. This is great, though. This is great. We've used some of these filters differently than we have in the past here. And you can see just by applying a couple of the filters that you had mentioned, I actually adjusted that change for 1 week to be more close to just anything positive.
Yeah.
Short-term trend intact, and then a minimum value ranking of 80. We've really kind of shaved the stock market down from
Right.
7,000 stocks to just a handful. And the first one here that I recognized was Toll Brothers. We talked about this recently in our happy hour group about being a potential swing long opportunity, especially based on the positive earnings that they released recently. So
this can narrow the universe down into swing and longer term trade candidates, instantly. And look, guys, if you do this with stocks that have the fundamentals that deliver a high probability of the stock going higher over time, then you're kind of increasing the odds in your favor by using this approach of filtering the universe down. High probability, fundamental reasons for the stock to go up with high probability trade setups. And this thing's starting to get back in towards your favor as a trader or investor. So it's just, my only point was here, there's some really powerful stuff that, Ryan and I working together have put into here. They're really easy to use. They can save you time and make you money. Now, I guarantee you, it hasn't occurred to Ryan yet, but a little later on today, the light bulb's going to go off and he says, I bet I can make Melvin come on and blather about this stuff for a couple of hours. So we're probably going to end up doing a Tuesday night seminar before too much longer on some of the ways that we can use this in combination and share more ideas. So it's definitely very cool. And you're right. Ryan does not bat an eye. He's unflappable when we're online and the tech glitches and it doesn't.
Eventually, you've seen something so many times, Tim, you just know what to do. You just kind of handle it in stride. You just understand what to do. This one's actually, this is not even a tech issue. I literally put the wrong value in the filter. As soon as I put the right value in there, it worked perfectly, but we'll make that a little bit easier to use.
Because it shouldn't, we don't want that to be cap sensitive because, so it's, just a bunch of tools. I really think the trend tools, we probably don't use them enough because, when you start to see a whole bunch of stocks that are above the 50 and 200 day breaking below that 20, right? If that list got really long, then there's information there about what's about to happen in the market.
Okay. I'm going to start building some of these. I'll wait till we do our session 2, but I'm going to start building some of these scans and then saving them.
Yes.
And then that way you and I can come back and we can revisit some of these lists as market conditions change. So I'll have these pre-built here. Tim, I think this is awesome. Really quickly here, I do have a question for you. Eric's asking, do you need a Benzinga Pro member to attend the happy hour calls? Yes. The happy hour is a Zoom call that is only available to Pro members. I mention it here a lot. I try to bring a lot of information or at least topics that we discuss as a happy hour group to this show too. I don't want it to be completely behind a paywall, but yes, the additional hour daily, Monday through Thursday, you are required to be a Benzinga Pro member. Never a requirement here on the YouTube channel. Tim, I did have a question here about an individual name. You ready for this?
Helm Work and Payne.
You got it.
I can see the chart too. I can see the request too. So Helm Work and Payne is a great company. Okay. They are struggling right now. They're in the oil and gas drilling business. We're down to the point where we're trading at a big discount to book value. They're going to take an earnings whack this year, according to the analysts. That sounds about right. Earnings have been pretty depressing. Most of the analysts have been downgrading it. Everybody hates it. It's at a huge, huge discount to book value, which means I'm really starting to get interested in this stock. But we're not ready to pull the trigger on this one yet. It's obviously in our universe. We are really big fans of the oil and gas industry going forward, but the selling pressure has just been almost continuous in this thing. So we're not really ready to jump into it. We've got a bunch of other names in the industry that, we've been buying and like a little bit more. So and we're really partial to, because we like stuff that everybody hates. We're really partial to the offshore industry in here.
Okay. Thinking about it, let me know if that answers your question. I think I see why he's asking about this. This really coming back into a pretty significant support level down here, $13 or so, and does pay 6.5%. Okay. You got anything else for us here, Tim?
No, I think that really, that's all
Perfect.
I kind of had. I wanted to go over and I took way too much of your time last week. You guys,
No, you're good.
I could see the panic in your eyes as we got closer to the open, Ryan.
I'm a professional, son. We don't panic.
So, look, use these tools, check them. Even if you never use them to trade, there's just a ton of information in there. And the shifting number of stocks between the three trend sets, there's just an enormous amount of information in there. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
And one more thing, Tim, real quick. I know we covered a lot with the scanner. The reality is that these ranking values for each individual name, as well as the trends, appear on the overview tab of details. So even if you're not using a scanner, if you're rolling through a bunch of different stocks for any reason, you're always going to have access to that information. And you might then also notice a trend going on here, depending on what stocks you're pulling up. So we put that information all over the platform and we allow you to scan by it. Okay, Tim, really good stuff.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. We'll be seeing you next weekend or next week and maybe sooner. Thanks for having me on, Ryan.
I got one more thing. We'll get you out of here on this. It's my fault for saving it till the end. What is your prediction for the Nvidia print tonight?
I think that Nvidia sometime between 4:30 and 5 o'clock today will come out and they're going to tell us how much money they made in the first quarter of the year. And some people are going to be really thrilled with the number. Some people are going to be really upset about the number, and the price will move all over the place. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They've been blowing everybody away. One day, Nvidia will not blow us all away, and that's going to be the end of the party. Is that today? I don't know. But if it is, and it's the end of the party, and everything falls apart tomorrow, call me. I'll come back on, and we'll start looking for the bargains.
Okay, that works for me. Really good stuff there, Tim. I look forward to you announcing what political office you're running for, because that was without a doubt one of the best political responses I've ever heard. You walked that line perfectly.
It's not even political. I'm not a trader, and I think the quarterly earnings estimates, here's where I blow the political part of this. Okay. I understand why we put them in back in the 1930s, right? That quarterly snapshot of a company's business so that they can't be super secretive. But the amount of money that is fascinated by a 3-month lifespan in the life of a corporation with trillions of dollars of valuation being changed on some blip in time is stupid. So I don't, quarterly estimates don't really do a lot for me.
Okay.
So there, I blew the political part of it completely.
Fair enough. I like it. Tim, thanks for everything. As always, we'll see you next week. We do have one of those nighttime webinars next week, so we'll talk about that. Maybe you and Anne-Marie have a surprise. I don't know. We'll see. A little bit of foreshadowing there.
We'll see.
We'll see
All right, guys.
Week.
See you next week.
Take care, Tim. That is Tim Melvin. We love Tim Melvin around these parts. Really, really good stuff. And folks, I mean, he's not kidding about these tools. He spent a lot of time trying to develop a tool that you did not feel that you needed an education to use, right? Basically just numbers. Is the number good or bad? And we'll find you stocks that meet that. All right, real quick. Ashok saying, I'm a pro member, but I never received the Zoom link. Well, you wouldn't receive it until you sign up for it. Key thing here for those of you that are pro members, if you go to the settings menu here and you have this setting turned on, this info bar setting right down here, that is your bottom bar. About 10-15 minutes before happy hour starts, you will see a message on here alerting you to the happy hour. Once you register for it, you're registered for all of them. You should get a invite link from Zoom automatically via your email. So this is where you find it, Ashok. Make sure your info bar is turned on. The mob asking, is the happy hour in the universe? I think what you're asking about is the universe product or service, the level of service that we have here. Yes, any piece any subscription or account that includes Benzinga Pro access also affords you access to the happy hour. So you guys can always reach out to me as well. Here's my email if you can't figure it out. It might just be a setting or something on your computer, or maybe you have Zoom emails blocked or something of that nature. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring on 13 and let's see how he's doing here real quick. Come on, Restream. Hello, 13. How are you doing? Boy, it looks stormy and dark in the Houston area. You're muted AF.
Sorry, it's really dark out there.
Holy smokes. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. Just raining.
Okay.
Let me go turn the light on so you can see me.
I was going to say, because it is awfully dark. It looks like the head of a emo metal album cover right there with just your face in the shade. Okay, 13. So first things first, we are going to explain the poll. Looks like you were a little bit thrown off by the poll. So again, just to really quickly go into this, we decided while you were gone, we got some news here that there's going to be a showdown in the self-driving companies. We're going to have Waymo and Tesla pitted head to head in Austin. But we also discovered Waymo is telling us that they are expanding into a bunch of different cities, one of which is Houston. So the group decided here that we need some boots on the ground reporting. And considering you're the host in Houston, you fit the bill for this one.
When is it?
Begrudgingly asking when it is. We have liftoff. Our 2025 road trip will be coming very soon. So they don't actually tell us. Basically, all that's going on here is producer, can you go with those poll results again? I did not see that. I'm sorry about that.
Usually I get a date on my death sentence, but okay.
So here we go. So we did not have the poll open. So we only got 143 votes here. But yes, more than half of you said yes. In fact, definitely yes. Oh my God, look, everything was yes, except for the 10%. So 13, it looks like you'll be doing this. All jokes aside here, we do kind of want to get opinions on whether or not self-driving is here to stay, which one's better, et cetera, et cetera. I thought we'd have a little fun with that this morning.
Yeah, when it comes to Houston, I'll say a prayer and take a ride.
Okay, that works. Now, as far as the stuff that you actually get to choose, is there anything that you want to take a look at here today? The two, we're obviously going to do the movers, but we also, the two stocks that folks have already suggested here today is SMCI and Okta, which reported earnings last night. And then, of course, Sergeant Sexy, can you update us on the Starship launch last night?
Yeah, I can just go over the launch real quick.
Let's do it.
So the whole thing with the launch was to accomplish several goals. One was to, of course, try to accomplish what the past two flights didn't do, and try to have Starship go on that path. But when from start to finish, one of the first things that was supposed to happen was they were going to launch, do the stage separation. The booster is going to fly back. That was not going to be caught. That was never the plan. They were going to end up burning that thing up. Or having it break apart. At least that was what the thought could happen with it, is because they were going to just put it really through the ringer, try to do different angle of entry on the test, on this test. So there was always going to be a chance that they were going to destroy that booster, and they did. So that's fine. The more problematic result for the flight came from Starship again. Did get to second engine cutoff, or secondary engine cutoff. That's the Starship's 6 inches that they had. So that was a milestone that we haven't achieved yet with Block 2 configuration. So that was good. Where the problem started happening is with the mock deployment of the satellites, the Starlink satellites. This was, they're not real or anything, but they're just trying to test a system that delivers them. That didn't work. So unfortunately, that was one of the first failures. The flight continued on, started to go over the Indian Ocean. The plan was to like with past flights, to just have it descend, do an ocean landing, and that would be that. Fortunately, we lost attitude control on the way in, and it tumbled and unfortunately broke up over the Indian Ocean. So that was that. It was a little bit more of a progress than the past flights, but unfortunately didn't achieve all of the objectives it was up to do today, or that day.
Okay, but overall, it sounds like a success, not necessarily a failure here.
There was a lot of data that was collected. It was more successful than the past 2 flights. So there's that silver lining, but they really do want to try to get Block 2 so that it's working the same way that the first configuration was, where they were just flawlessly having rockets go up, get caught. Starship came down, did its realignment, its maneuver to land, hit the Indian Ocean softly, and that was that. That's how Block 1 story ended. They were doing that without problems. So just still working through the bugs, but I don't know when they're going to get it so that it's landing the way they want. But eventually, we will see both a booster and a Starship caught by the 2 towers that are now at Starbase.
Okay, really good stuff there. Appreciate the breakdown. Super informative as always, 13. You never disappoint. Of course, we've talked about this. If you're talking about Starship and SpaceX, and you're trading Elon Musk, that's Tesla. Tesla stock here up 0.75% here today. Sure does look like it's on its way to 391 here. That is your 1.618 fib level that I have drawn on this chart from the Fibonacci extension that we drew a while ago. Okay, let's hit these movers. What do you say?
Sure. And then, we can get to some of those other ones, like Izzy's asking about Joby, and then Jonathan is mentioning Canaan. So we'll get to all those.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. The first, you know what? I had this here. I had this sorted the wrong way. I'm actually just going to start here real quick with Abercrombie and Fitch. Ticker ANF. It's not at the top of the list. We do have some more of these smaller ones that are going crazy, and yes, we're going to cover those. But Abercrombie and Fitch here is trading higher. It's up by 27.8%. Just a monster move. Option buyers clearly winning this print here. Abercrombie and Fitch share is trading higher after the company reported better than expected quarterly financial results. I think the big key here to me, I would call this the surprise. So they beat top and bottom line. Okay. But they guided lower.
Mm-hmm.
They lowered their guide from 1040 to 1140 to 950 to 1050. The estimate's 1075. Really, what we've seen in the past is when you lower the guide, they get absolutely hammered. The opposite seems to be true here for Abercrombie, plus 27.5% here in the pre-market. The stock does have a high short interest here. Oh, by the way, folks, we did get our new short interest data, as I was telling you yesterday that we should expect. Abercrombie's percent of float shorted grew by nearly 2%, about 1.5% here, actually. 22.4% of the float shorted with 3.53 days to cover. Maybe there's some squeeze action here. Abercrombie testing 100 here in the pre-market. You can see this is actually pretty sweet chart formation here. This is actually down from near 200. Looks like it's curling back up. I guess it just surprised me here, 13, that this had such a good, or is having such a good movement with the lowered guide. Any thought at all on that or the chart?
Well, you did point out the short interest, so I think that could be a component. But when I look at the different headlines here, I think the one that might be giving this a lift is the inventory levels being lower. I think that might be viewed as a positive. Maybe there's also there was an expectation. I know we have the estimates, at one value, but I think there may have been some expectation that guidance wasn't going to be very good, or that it was going to be lower, and this might not have been the exact hit that analysts were expecting it to take. So maybe it's just there was this magic number aside from the 253 estimate that was also being thrown around, or like maybe they were looking for a gap EPS under $2, and it didn't go down that low. So I don't know the exact reason why it's positive, because usually we do see lower guides not get rewarded, but I think it's a combination of different things that we're getting here, including not as bad as expected guide.
Okay. A couple of interesting things here. Anne Marie said, did they do something to shore up their balance sheet? That I don't know off the top of my head. It did say that they did have profitability exceeds the outlook with an operating margin of 9.3%, earnings per share of 1.59. Tommy was asking, are they buying back their shares? Yes. In fact, they repurchased 2.6 million shares for $200 million, and this represents 5% of the total shares outstanding as of February. A couple of other things that I thought were notable here. Brand performance led by Hollister brands with a growth of 22%, with Abercrombie brands down 4%. Now, forgive me, it's been a long time since I've been into an Abercrombie store or a Hollister store, but isn't Hollister the cheaper of the two? Someone will have to confirm that for me. I almost wonder if there's a consumer trade down effect that we have been talking about. Really quickly here, Fran Horowitz, the chief executive officer, quote, we delivered record first quarter net sales with 8% growth to last year. This was above our expectations and supposed by broad-based growth across 3 regions, with Hollister leading the performance there. So, interesting note here, Abercrombie plus 27.4%. I'd be lying if I said I thought it was going to do this prior to the print yesterday. So this ripping here. The other one worth mentioning, not quite the same degree, but Macy's here also trading higher, this by a more modest 3.5% here. They beat on the top and the bottom line just barely, and their guidance 205 to 225 down to 160 to 2. The estimate there was 193. So the high end of the guide is actually right where the estimate is on this. Okay.
Also, just kind of looking around, because I know that we're still dealing with tariffs. Abercrombie and Fitch gets a significant portion of its closing from Vietnam, Cambodia, and India. China accounts for a very small, smaller percentage of their imports, but Vietnam, Cambodia, and India, 2 out of 3 of those countries we're really advancing talks with. So there may be an element to that as well, but could more likely be having to do with the share buybacks, I think, but
okay,
or a combination of everything we've just talked about.
Okay, there you go. Wanted to cover it. We don't often cover bigger stocks here on this movers list. Abercrombie, the 5th one on the list. Now, let's talk about more of the gunslinger stuff that I know y'all folks are looking for. And don't worry, Drew, we will absolutely talk about NVTS again because it is back. We talked about that when the news first dropped, but that is on the list here. Okay, SGN, signing day sports. This was a penny stock yesterday. We had a blip, a little disturbance, maybe midday here. Signing day sports shares are trading higher after announcing a business combination agreement with Blockchain, with AI capitalized in there just for extra cuteness, to acquire 100% of the company and form a crypto mining, AI, and high performance computing data housing company. Okay, seems like a bit of a change in course here, but this, of course, has caused the stock to rocket nearly 300%. We are up 280% here. Don't see any news from yesterday to explain the volume pop that we got midday, so sure feels like somebody was tipped off to what was about to happen here today. Just speculating. I have no concrete information on that. That does tell me we're likely to see some profit taking in this at some point if we haven't seen those folks close out here yet. Producer reminding you that this piece of news here is about as loaded up with buzzwords as it gets. Indeed. What do you think? Well, you know what? Let me do a quick look around the horn here, 13. Then we'll go to you for your opinion here. 4% of the float shorted, 4.02% of the float shorted, with 1 day to cover. The average volume here, 1.6 million. Today we've traded just about 40 million shares. Floats 3.5 million. 13. What do you think here?
I probably need a little more time to go over the financials, but I think that's one of the big reasons why you're getting this movement, because it seems like the company that signing day is merging with is the one that has all the money. So, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They've got a general audit revenue of 26.8 million, net income of 5.7 million as of last year. I don't think signing day can really say that. Looks like no, they can't. They had last quarter revenue of 148,000. Net income they lost 843,000. So Yeah, this I think signing day stands to benefit from this immensely. I just I didn't cover this, so I don't have all the specific details, but I think that's the reason why you're getting this move is because hey, this company's picking up another company with a lot of cash. Don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it.
Okay, it did look like this $4 area actually represents a pretty decent resistance spot. We'll see if we can get through this. I probably have the next area up here at 6. Maybe you get a little bit of resistance here at 5, maybe some of the round numbers, but man, oh man, it's already moved 365% here today. So we'll see here. Ticker SGN, our big mover for the day. Yeah.
I like 425 next.
Okay.
And then after that, maybe 580. So
Okay.
425, 580, and then we have the 200 EMA on the daily chart up at 692. I think that's going to be into play if we get through 580.
Okay. Interesting. I have that at 624, but nonetheless, same deal there. Okay. Really good stuff there. SGN. Next, we have here SPRO, Spiro Therapeutics. This was what? Just about, this was a penny stock yesterday. We popped up towards $3. Couldn't quite get there. Starting to lose some steam. We actually recently lost the VWAP in the last half hour here. Spiro Therapeutics shares are trading higher after the company and GlaxoSmithKline, ticker GSK, announced the phase 3 study of some drug that I'm not going to bother butchering, met its primary endpoint and will stop early for efficacy. So trial here that they're stopping early. They got good data out of it. This stock did pop here, although, as mentioned, we have lost the VWAP here. Quick look at the short interest, 1.39% of the float shorted with 5.63 days to cover. That days to cover comes on a very paltry average volume of 129,000 shares per day. Today, we've traded almost 85 million. The float's 45 million, so we've almost rotated that prior to the market even opening here. Looks like you got anything on this one? Did you look into this at all? Okay, what do you got here?
Yeah, so I'll check a stab at the name. It looks like tebipenem, and this is an investigational oral treatment for complicated urinary tract infections. Now, the fact that we're in phase 3, that's one of the last phases you get in these clinical trials, and stopping early, is very, very good for the company because that means that they don't have to spend as much cash as they were anticipating they would. So, and they have and cash is what they do have. They have about 4 quarters and a little more of it. So this company doesn't look like they're going to need to raise capital at any time soon. Even if they do spend up all their cash, it's going to be one of those situations where you might end up seeing them go through the whole reverse split process and raise capital. But that's not going to be something I don't anticipate them doing for a long time, if at all, unless they have some other clinical trial they need to fund and they just they just don't have the money for it. Aside from that, that's basically what I've got here in terms of the finances. But for the technicals, this is like you said, this is looking like it's still going to continue lower. And I think $2 might be one of the earlier support areas. So if that falls while we're still in the pre-market, then I'm definitely thinking we're going to need to wait and just let this thing open and wait for everything to shake out before we start trading it. We are trading beneath VWAP. Did you hear that? I don't particularly, want to start grabbing this in the pre-market unless it is about to recapture it. So I just would wait this one out. Let's see what it does after the open. If it sets up a trade, we'll take it then.
Okay, really good breakdown there. SPRO, Spiro Therapeutics. Quick question here from Ivan. We might as well cover. We've covered this before, but we'll keep doing it. Ryan, how does the short interest correlate with days to cover? The more days, the better? Question mark. Okay, so the easiest way to, so first of all, I can't actually, well, I can. The way that the number is calculated is it basically looks at the average volume traded and the total raw short interest, and then it figures out how many sessions it would take to cover all of that up. Now, I understand that when a piece of news comes out, the volume is going to be elevated much above the average, but that doesn't matter necessarily. What we're looking at here is, yes, generally the higher the days to cover number, the higher the propensity for a short squeeze. It's going to take longer for these people to get out of their positions if indeed there is a catalyst that might change the thesis here. We have talked about this again. We've had multiple discussions about short interest going all the way back to the GME days of when that thing went crazy. And again, one of the things that we settled on here, the 5 days to cover is pretty much the threshold. If it's above 5, if it's above an entire trading week here, the potential exists for this to be a multi-day squeeze. Now, in some cases, obviously, if there's a piece of news and the stock on average trades 200,000 shares, but one day it's trading 100 million shares and it has a short interest of 1 million shares, it's absolutely feasible that all of those shorts can be covered up. We never really know until we get that actual report. But what we're trying to discern here is we're trying to use this data to figure, hey, this might be more of a multi-day short squeeze. And that's really what days to cover is measuring here. I know everybody focuses on percent of float shorted. When I talk to more and more people that were involved professionally, I continue to hear about days to cover. So I added that into what we check in when we take a look here at short interest. If anyone else has any comment on short interest, days to cover, or anything otherwise, I'd love to hear how you folks look at it. But Ivan, let me know if that answers your question. The higher the days to cover, the higher the propensity for a multi-day squeeze effect.
Them looking a little bit more at SPRO, it looks like back in January they went through some leadership changes, and they gave some financial guidance that their cash and cash equivalents, there was good to continue operations into 2026. But they went through some leadership changes amid a SEC investigation. Just trying to see if that's still ongoing or not. But it seems like they're cooperating with that. So just wanted to provide a little bit more context there with that company.
Okay, really good. Jonathan here saying, I think when we get volume spikes, the days to cover goes out the window versus the liquidity because it's there to exit. Yes, but also, Jonathan, think about it. If that volume spike is because there's a rush of buyers there, you can assume that the price is going to go up. The faster that price goes up, the more likely those shorts are to cover, right? And so even in that case of the float being rotated, or the volume just being so elevated, it still might make this difficult to cover. Again, one of the things that we're looking at here is what is it like prior to that, right? We take a look at these in the morning before the market's even really open. We're still getting an idea of what the days to cover was prior to that volume spike. We're trying to get as much information as possible. This is a good point, though. Okay, next here is going to be SGBX, Safe and Green Holdings. I know that we've traded this one before. It looks like we had a volume spike that took us up towards 350. That seems like a long time ago because we've bled back almost 80% of these gains. We lost the VWAP in the process. We found resistance at the VWAP in the process. We ended up resolving lower. This had news, I think, from yesterday morning here. Yeah, Safe and Green Holdings enters into an agreement with Three Pines Leasing to supply modular units to a government agency. And, of course, the terms weren't disclosed. Looks like just kind of a carryover effect here. Again, we got this information yesterday. The stock was not all that active. Looks like it's active here today. I would just kind of be careful about that. Again, quick look at the short interest. 18.41% of the float is shorted with 1.88 days to cover. That comes on an average of 2.4 million shares. The float 6.5 million. We've traded almost 50 million. What do you think, 13?
Yeah, so this company's entered into an agreement with Three Pines Leasing so that they can supply modular units to a government agency. Don't know which one. No terms disclosed, as you pointed out.
Yep.
So mystery. This has a 6.5 million share float, and you just pointed out the short interest. This company does need cash. Their balance sheet does not look like it has very much capital. Their income statement that was in for Q4, I believe, was showed a loss of 11 million. So don't think this government contract's necessarily going to save them. And I don't believe if I saw anything related to an offering being on the table. What I did see was that they had some kind of offering to sell almost 1 billion shares of common stock through the issuance of warrants, I think it was. That news came toward the end of April, beginning of this month. So didn't have time to really read through everything, but it seems like that's what their plan is to raise money is to raise it through warrants. Because I don't see any other types of capital infusion filed or coming with this stock. So must be something in there. Like I said, didn't read through it, so I don't exactly have all the details on it. But this company doesn't look as good as the last one we just looked at. Taking a look at the chart, we are finally getting some life being injected back into it after it's had a sluggish morning. So if this starts trading up into the open and we get back above VWAP as we open into the regular session here, this might provide a better, might be worth picking up here for a quick trade. But just don't get caught in this thing. I don't really have a good financial sense on this one, and it doesn't look that great, to be honest.
Okay, real quick here, Jonathan. SGBX warrants can't sell unless they have permission from the shareholder. So I know it says can in the comment that we're highlighting. He corrects that in his very next comment. They cannot sell unless they have permission from the shareholder. Jonathan, appreciate you. Okay, good stuff there. Yep, sorry.
I said thank you, Jonathan.
Yep, good stuff there from Jonathan, as always, by the way. Okay, next here, this is one from yesterday, is it not? Livewire. This is one of the ones that we were taking a look at. Ticker LVWR. This had a nice little pop in the morning on humongous volume. Actually gave a decent trade. Went crazy again in the after hours, holding some of those gains here today, holding just shy of $4, right at its VWAP for the most part. This came from yesterday afternoon. Shares of companies within the broader discretionary sector are trading higher, possibly amid overall market strength after President Trump delayed those tariffs. So looks like the news desk is telling you here this might be trading up on the delay of those tariffs. I'll let you figure that one out. Definitely looks like we got some relative volume action going today, given what we saw yesterday. Quick peek at the short interest here. 3.68% of the float shorted with 9.94 days to cover. That comes on 1.36 million shares. We've traded 25 million shares here today. The float's just shy of 20 million. So we'll see here if we have any type of short squeeze effect for Livewire, ticker LVWR. What do you think here on this one, 13?
Not sure. Let's see what we got here on the balance sheet. So it doesn't look bad. 46 million in cash. It was about 19 to 24 million. So it looks like they have a couple of quarters where they can draw out operations. Electric. It seems like these are electric motorcycles. So I guess what I'm kind of wondering is, wasn't there another motorcycle play that also makes e-bikes that is a very popular American company? I'm just kind of wondering if there's any relative play here. Hog, Harley Davidson. Don't they still have their electric bike segment?
Do you mean like bicycles or like motorcycles?
Yeah, motorcycles, like e-bikes.
I don't know.
Are these just like
they do make e-bikes? Yes.
I guess I don't know enough about this company. Is it like is Hog a competitor, or are these like smaller? Because one of the things I've seen a lot is like a lot of scooters on the streets lately, with especially in parts of California. These kids are everywhere on these scooters, these electric scooters. I really don't know what to make of this company, their sales or what. I don't even know the reason it's moving exactly. If maybe it is the tariffs, maybe it's not. I can certainly understand why that could be, but I don't have a real read on why this is moving. But just kind of wondering if there's any correlation with the recent rise in Harley Davidson and this company.
So Drew's here saying Livewire is from Harley.
Okay.
It used to be Harley's line, then it went standalone.
Oh, okay.
That's super helpful, Drew. I didn't even realize that myself. Look at this. This is the Harley spinoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess
Get
there
it
is a
done.
little bit of a relative play there. Maybe. I mean, because it used to be of Harley Davidson. So I guess that kind of answers one of my questions.
Really quickly, I don't know how this is going to necessarily play into the stock, but I've noticed, especially this spring and summer. In fact, I just saw a box out at the curb yesterday for garbage collection. In my community, I'm seeing a lot more of these e-bikes being purchased. And I don't mean the scooters. I've actually seen some of those scooters already. The kids cruise around on them here. But now I'm seeing the full-on bicycle that is an e-bike. I'm seeing more and more of those. Like I said, there was a brand new box out at the curb yesterday. One of my neighbors got it for his son. So I'm definitely seeing that where I live. I don't know what that means for the stock here, but good uncovering here on Livewire.
My wife has an Aventon electric bike, and she loves it. So they are getting pretty popular.
And you know what? I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Bree had a electric bike, or one that he used quite a bit. There was one in the office. I could have sworn somebody told me it was Aaron's. Maybe they were lying. Oh, we're about to open. Oh my goodness. BROG. This is another one that's trading up here today. This had entered into an $884 million conditional agreement. It's bleeding though, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, market is open. Let me get to my main workspace here. Boy, where did the time go this morning? 13.
Yeah, we just kept covering, but we still have to talk about a couple other things. Joby, Rocket, a couple other names that people were.
Okta, SMCI. These were names yesterday, or these were names that people wanted to see here.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We're not going to forget about it. Don't worry.
Yeah. Several in my neighborhood, says Gary. Crocodile Dumb Me is worried that this is going to produce fatter children. I'll be honest, Crocodile Dumb Me, my two favorite toys when I was a kid, if you can consider them toys, were my rollerblades and my bike. And I mean, I was so active. I was burning so much energy. I think you might be onto something. Joby, we also got asked about this. Joby Aviation shares are trading higher after the company completed a round of raising capital, which included a $250 million investment from Toyota Motor. So Joby trying to legitimize itself a little bit more. His stock is up 20% from its 680 handle yesterday. This thing ramping right here out of the gate. Izzy, good morning. I think you were looking at this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and some folks were saying earlier this month, which one's better, Joby or Archer? Some folks are saying just get both if you want. Don't think that's a bad idea. It seems like they're both going to do pretty well.
I'll tell you what, here's what your chart looks like on Joby. It sure looks like we're popping up to this consolidation area. I have a pretty nasty range here from, let's call it 8 to 930. Looks like it chopped around in this area for quite some time. Joby here, this continuing to trade higher here.
Now, I just wanted to make one point about the comment on the kids being fatter on e-bikes. I would push back that we're getting them out of the damn house. Let's take the win for what it is. Okay.
Now you have kids, so I'm gonna lean on you for that one here. SGN, another one of our movers. This approaching that $4 high. Looks like this popped right out of the open here. I've still got the VWAP down here at 291, so it's pretty extended there. See if we get above 403. Your high print there in the pre-market. SGBX looks like this is going to go lower here. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Does not look good there. ASBP, CGBS, these are both penny stocks. Play at your own risk. BROG, this was another mover here. We just talked about this one, Bruge Energy. This is actually looking like this might roll over here as well.
Yeah, it looks like $1 in SGBX is going to be your last hope. And then if we lose $1, I just move on to something else. We already talked about how this might not be the greatest one either. So
here's GameStop. This was higher in the pre-market on purchasing 4,710 Bitcoin. You can see that the market is not even impressed. This thing's selling off right out of the open here. We're actually lower than yesterday's open at this point.
SPRO is going to halt, and then after the unhalt, it's probably going to start moving better.
Okay, this halt actually brings us above the VWAP here. This also looks like this found support at 213. I think that's spot on.
Mm-hmm. That's the spot we wanted. Now, if we get 5 minutes from now, I believe that's when we're going to get the unhalt. We should start to see this try to get back up to 245, maybe even 250. That's going to be the best case scenario. We just want to see this start to recover. The high from the pre-market, it looks like this is after hours. No, it's pre-market. It was 289. So, we're going to probably see maybe more than one halt out of this. But just, be ready for this because I think this is going to be one of the better movers here this morning. So that's so far we've got one halter. So that's good. Now we're going to probably see some attention moved on to some of these other names. Look at Rocket Lab go. This thing is now was now trading over 30. This has been on it. So it looks like maybe Rocket Lab's doing better because SpaceX, their market exploded. Maybe, I don't know, but I still think Rocket Lab's a great company.
I think you hit this on the head yesterday. I think this is a rising tide lifts all boats scenario here. And I think you're actually making some progress here on some of these space stocks. You did a good job highlighting Redwire yesterday, which had a monster day as well. So I really think that's just kind of a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. We'll see.
My four favorite ones, I talk about them all the time. My four favorite ones are going to be Redwire, Rocket Lab, Iridium, and Siri. Those are my four favorites.
Okay. Tesla here falling out of the open. Post that launch, we'll see if this 358, 360 area. We talked a lot about 350 being a key level there from Tesla. We took it out here. It'd be a real shame to go back and test that here today. Tell you what, the daily chart here for Tesla sure looked like this was going to push higher. We'll see how that goes.
I thinking about it. I'm singing it in my head now. Now that you said that. Rocket Lab, burning up the chart out here alone.
I love it. You guys put a smile on my face every single day. BBAI getting mentioned, this selling right out of the gate here. Bonjour, Smoke Tuna. It's great to see you. Smoke Tuna mentioning Livewire here, as that might give you some more trades. We'll see. Seeing some more option flow in here. Here's OKLO, so the nuke stocks continuing higher. I also saw NBIS there. Chris, I know that you were trading this one here already. These were NBIS calls. These were the 40 calls that expire this week. NBIS popped out of the gate and came back.
Is he mentioning Fubo? And CA Forsman says that UNH is on fire. I need to go and actually look at the chart to see which fire he's referring to.
The dumpster fire or the one higher? UNH ripping out of the gate here.
Okay,
300 test.
It's the good fire then. Okay. Didn't know until I saw the price action.
There you go on UNH. Another discussion from Happy Hour here yesterday. Wow. I didn't ask for permission, so I apologize, Bigabees, if I'm not supposed to say this. One of the things that Bigabees was pointing out is that a lot of the times when this stock would sell out of the open, it was met with significant buying volume, whether it was midday, right out of the open. All these dips appear to be getting bought. There does seem like there's a buyer in here. And I know we've got people that are trying to trade this to the long side and the short side. We're not really sure where it's going to go next. I know we got one bounce here, a little bit of a cool down on that, but some pretty good observation here. UNH, those pulls, especially out of the open, they're getting bought.
He's short. CA Forsman's short at 299.03. So
there you go.
He's looking for some downside. So, and I still think there should be a meaner version, but ultimately I do think we're going to see some lower prints in this. I just don't think we're completely out of the woods yet with all the bad news and downside.
I'm with you on that. I am definitely with you on that. Humana, another one to trade alongside that. I'll take this right here. Nicholas made some money on Box right at the open. So nice. This reported earnings, you probably had this ahead of that. Nice little pop here. Box up almost 15%. What did the options imply the move was on this one? Let's see. What did we have in here? Options imply a 5.8% move. This thing moved 14%. Option buyers won this one. We talked about with Anne-Marie yesterday. Anne-Marie, correct me if I'm getting this wrong. I'm pretty sure that if I recall correctly, you said the option sellers likely to win that one. So go ahead, 13.
SPRO unhalted.
Here we go. Let me put that on screen here. This is the one that you said might trade up here. Okay, 230 out of the open.
Yep. So far, so good. Was looking for a little bit more, of a rise than this, but it looks like sellers are trying to get out of it, and it looks like we're going to get a halt.
I'm going to stop my cat from destroying my office and also run to the washroom. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. So SPRO came out of a halt, popped up, immediately met with some sellers, and pulled back down to VWAP, where we are now halted again. So at least we're getting the halts, not so much the upside we're looking for quite yet. Once we get those sellers out of the way, probably will trade better though. SGBX, this is trying to turn around though. Testing the 65 EMA currently. And signing day sports, currently getting some support from VWAP, but I think somebody had mentioned that it looks like there's a head and shoulders forming with SGN. I kind of see that too. Also noticing that the MACD is about to cross to the downside. So if we end up getting that as well, that's going to lead to further bearishness. So just be careful with SGN there. Looks like that one's a bit weak this morning. Meanwhile, Rocket Lab had pumped up all the way to 30.78 before it pulled back, and we're getting some selling now. Not bad. I was hoping for 31, but it is what it is. Let's wait and see how that trades. Looks like a lot of things are getting a bit of a pull here. SGBX, though, that's moving through the 65 EMA, dealing with some of this consolidation in the pre-market from about 130 to 150. Got this consolidation that it's currently working through right now. So we'll see what happens there with that SGBX.
Here you go. All right. How are those quantum names doing? Looks like Chris is long QBTS. I'll tell you what, Chris, I hope that works for you. This feels heavy to me. That being said, I did get rocked on my last short there for QBTS. Rigetti showing the same type of thing here. This again looks pretty weak.
Rocket Lab really getting sold off now, losing 30.
Abercrombie calls out of the money calls getting bought past this print. It has me thinking there's continuation there. RCKT, we saw this one really sell off yesterday. We talked about it. It tried to bounce out of the open yesterday and then was dead the rest of the day. Looks like it tried to do the same thing here today. I would be careful with this one. RCKT.
Quantumanium is red.
What's that?
Quantumanium is red. Or Quantium is red. I thought I was thinking Quantumanium. But anyway, looks like we're starting to get some selling happening here. Is this happening in the broader market or just these movers this morning?
SPY still holding higher here, 592. So SPY still up 0.2% here today. Remember, we were red in the pre-market. So we're actually so far holding higher. 593 to 595 was the resistance area that I had yesterday. I still think that's intact here today.
So one of the things that the SPY has been doing this morning, and this was a level that almost hit yesterday, it was the 591 and 93 cent previous all-time high. That was a 2 attempts that it was trying to get through this morning, and finally out of the open here, it broke through that price. Now it's making its way up to this consolidation area between 594 and 596.
Okay.
SGN with some buyers, but I'd be careful. It's got that head and shoulders really starting to take shape now, where the right shoulder could be forming here.
Yeah, it sure does. This is interesting too, 13, because this looks like a clean bounce off the VWAP off that pull from 4. Mm-hmm. But you're right. The candle here in the 8:55 hour, 8:55 Eastern hour is going to be your left shoulder, and it is forming that candle right now. We would really want this to get above 350 in this candle to kind of invalidate that.
Yep. Looks like Rocket Lab is trying to turn around here and attempting to recapture 30. Live wire, it's mostly sideways, but mostly down. SGBX, the one that some of us thought was going to be done, is still showing signs of life.
It's holding in there.
Mm-hmm. But it's got to hold that 65 EMA, or else I don't know if it's going to trade as well after that.
Dustin here asking about TEM. Dustin, I don't have any new thoughts necessarily on TEM. It is selling here right out of the open. Tempest shares trading lower after Spruce Point issued a, quote, strong sell opinion on the stock. So this is down 10% here. Spruce Point Capital Management responsible for this. I'm going to come back to Tempest. Let me go to that SPRO just in case there's something pressing.
Yeah, it just unhalted, and it's trying to get support at 2 again. So if it loses 2 here, probably going to end up going back down to the 65 EMA. But if it holds 2 here, what I'm going to want to see is a recapture of VWAP. And then if it does that, this might actually really get going. So we are unhalted here with SPRO, and let's see if we can get that back above that VWAP.
Bitcoin falling here today. Bitcoin at 108,600. Also, we talk about Bitcoin kind of being one of the risk assets. Risk on if Bitcoin is trading higher, maybe risk off if Bitcoin is trading lower. We also talk about that regarding the VIX for fear and greed here. VIX melting, Bitcoin melting. So those moving in the same direction. We'll see if there's a divergence in that at all.
I don't know why I started seeing a whole bunch of headlines this morning about how I thought it was like Google had said that they believe that it's going to be a lot easier than expected for some up and coming quantum technology to be able to crack Bitcoin. Thought that was a little concerning because the whole thing with that is that it's a secure and alternative way to conduct transactions, and if it can be cracked that easily, that kind of unwinds the whole Bitcoin play.
Yeah, I would say I'm if you have access to that still handy, maybe forward it to me so I can read that. I will say that kind of smacks of the 51% takeover that we heard in the early years of Bitcoin, which of course materialized to exactly nothing. And Bitcoin raged higher than that. So I don't want to put too much into that, but let me at least read it before I crap all over it. SMR here, we talked a little bit about Oklo moving higher out of the open. SMR2 is moving higher out of the open. So it looks like a little bit of continuation on some of these names here. Average options from the chat, my man asking about PanW, saying that this looks nice. Indeed. Sure, look, I had told you last week, I think PanW is going to make a run towards 200 here. We really kind of settled at 582-ish. It sure does look like PanW on the way back up here. Here's what your daily chart looks like. What we're really waiting for here, this trend to get whacked. If this trend falls, if we can break above this trend line, I do think 200 and then maybe 210 on deck here, ticker PANW.
I just linked it. It's one of the articles I found was actually a Benzinga article, so I don't think you need to question that.
No, and so here, first of all, I appreciate you giving that to me. Here's the link in the chat. This one came from yesterday morning. I did not cover this one. Thank you, 13. Yep. I will go ahead and take a look at this when I get a sec here. Oh, you know what? I did really quickly want to mention this one. I just closed this story. I didn't have time to cover this here this morning, but just so you folks are all aware, we talk about it here a little bit. Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood sold $9.9 million worth of Tesla despite Musk's 24/7 pledge and then loaded up on Nvidia ahead of the earnings here today. That article's in the chat there. So I know we kind of talk about Kathy back and forth a little bit. There's your most recent transactions from Kathy. Okay. Let me go back to what was that I wanted to take a look at there. I already forgot. It's got to be in my recent list here. It was TEM. It was Dustin who asked so nicely and patiently. I'm sorry, Dustin, that this took a sec. Okay, so Spruce Point downgrading it here today. That's why you see the move down here today. We take a look at the daily chart here. Really, the area that we really want to hold on to is going to be this 57. We did have this trend line. This is more of an entry trend line here. I'm pretty sure you're in this trade, something of that nature. We'll see where TEM goes here. Really, this comes down to what's Pelosi doing with it, right? Pretty sure. Yep, she still
morning,
has
Ryan Milligan and Smoke Tuna mentioning SGN. This is trying to invalidate the Head and Shoulders.
Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in, Ryan. Miss Milligan, not you.
I was going to say, I'm here every day. Not trading recently, but I enjoy listening whilst I'm working. Love the fact that you threw a whilst in there. One of my favorite words. I try to use that all the time. And we appreciate all your support. Be sure to smash up that like and subscribe if you haven't already. So TEM here, look, I think this is probably, I think you're going to get some carryover movement in TEM depending on what NVIDIA does here today. If NVIDIA trades higher here today, I would expect TEM to also maybe trade up a little bit. This downgrade by Spruce Point here is really what's driving it down here today. The area to watch here, 57, Dustin.
Simil, no, usually a head and shoulders is a bearish pattern. Well, always it's a bearish pattern unless it's upside down, in which case it's inverse, and it's usually a bullish indication that the price is going to go higher. It's a pattern that forms over a series of candles. And the way that the 5-minute chart was looking for SGN, or maybe even some other time frames, is that it looked like we were starting to get that pattern formation, in which case we were just largely avoiding SGN because we thought there was going to be some more downside. Now it looks like in this current candle, there's some short squeezing happening here, but no real indication if the shorts are going to win the day or the bulls are. So it's providing for some good price action, but it's not something that I'm particularly interested in trading right now.
Here it is visualized really quickly.
Yeah.
Now it does look like it's trying to invalidate this. Let's see what happens here. Ross says, love this chat. Ross, we love you. So feeling is mutual, buddy. Also, James here saying, is this SPY dip anything to worry about? James, I would answer this the way I normally do. I would imagine a slight dip like this is really nothing to worry about in the grand scheme of things. Now, if you loaded up a position here this morning, a new one, and that position's going against you, obviously, that changes things a little bit here. The move off this 593-ish area high back down to where we're at. No, I have a tough time saying that this is anything to worry about. But I'm also a glass half full guy, so I often don't worry. And I sometimes stuff those worries in a sack instead of climbing the wall of worry.
SGBX is now open again. Should be getting an unhalt with SPRO again soon as well. As far as the market polling here, we did have a really nice day. It's so weird that we have this phantom price action that happened intraday yesterday still showing up on that daily candle, because the low yesterday was not 578.43. We did not go that low yesterday. No way we did. There was
that was that phantom candle midday.
Yeah. This really kind of weird, and it's there's no way in that 5-minute span that we went 14 handles. We didn't get that kind of day yesterday where the market was that wild. All right, here we go. SPRO is open, trying to push higher. Let's see what happens. It did fall beneath that $2 level and got bought back up right away. So it's still moving sideways, still dealing with that VWAP.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's still flirting with that VWAP there. You hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
PDD, which had a rough day yesterday, actually looks like maybe we're going to retest some of those lows. PDD sub 100 rolling over a little bit here. Did see some puts get bought across there. Here's CoreWeave. This is another one that we've been taking a look at. This hit 127 in the pre-market here. We're actually down 11 points from that high. Good Lord, CoreWeave. Here's what your daily looks like. Anyone take a new position here in CoreWeave? Anyone looking to short this? Maybe a regression back to the mean here on CoreWeave? I got no problem waiting for that to confirm. Someone asked earlier what we thought here on, what we thought here on Uber. I don't think the general thought here on Uber has changed. This company is really executing right now. Looking at the chart here, it does kind of feel like this has a 100 magnet in it. So the fact that we've pulled back here and really not lost this 87, 88 area, probably pretty good. I would imagine Uber prints 100 here sooner rather than later.
Do you still have your trend line on Uber up? Because I still have mine.
That's going to be one of these.
It should be going back to February of 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it right here. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, The fact that we've got this support around, it looks like 86.5, somewhere around there, which is also kind of where the price bounced off the 20-day SMA. Seems like that's going to be a support area, somewhere between 86 and 87. I'll just say it because one of the last highs we got prior to this move up here that we have recently was back from October of 2024, where the price got up to 87 exactly. So now that we have this most recent visit back up here, getting through 87 was a big breakout, and now it's going to be a support level as well. So you have two different levels to watch for: that 87, which is support from October of 2024, and this trend line, which it's trying to get back above here. And that, if it does, I'd be looking at that as a potential breakout level. Maybe that recent high where we got rejected from getting over it on May 20th. That high was 93.60.
Here's May 20th. Yeah. Okay. Really good stuff there. A couple of things. Dugan saying, I don't know that I'd short CoreWeave on Nvidia Day. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't recommend that to anybody. I'm just wondering if folks have trading it. Lion here, not disappointing. Lion is short CoreWeave. Izzy here saying CoreWeave is to stay away from me. My thought is really until this starts reversing, I'll probably try to catch a little bit of profit there to the downside, but I feel like I can't properly time this right now, so it's kind of a stay away from me as well. Fahad, Ryan, what plates did you end up getting? So interestingly enough, I did end up settling on a vanity plate yesterday. It has to do with golf, not with markets. I did love your your puts idea, but I really think that when I actually get the plate, it's going to look like fur puts. So I opted to go with a golf related one. I can show you that though. I don't really think you're going to be able to do anything by knowing my plate. Nonetheless, did finally settle on vanity plates for the first time. Pete suggesting man TYTS man tits.
Yes,
Pete, I gotta say, there's no chance that I would do this. This is a uncharacteristically bad suggestion from you.
Maybe it's tights, you know.
Oh, it is. You know what? It's tights. Oh, and he confirms it. Oh, it's still. Here, actually, I guess since we're having this discussion, I'll just show you here real quick. Let me upload it.
All right.
All right.
Well, SGN is still trying to get into that four handle, trying to invalidate that head and shoulders.
Wiss, I think you're going to like this one. Crocodile Done Me busting out the Seinfeld ass man here. You know, first of all, I would never do that. Second of all, I don't think that the state would allow you to do that.
Well, then make it A55 MAN.
Yeah, I wonder if the state would get upset about that. Here's what I ended up going with.
Rather golf. Yeah.
I would rather golf. So we'll see what this looks like when the plate actually gets here. But I'll be honest, when I typed this into the machine or the website and they said that this was available, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was so proud of myself. I was like, I can't believe I came up with that. Anyway, never had vanity plates before. We'll see how it goes. Wiss loves it.
Livewire, getting a bit of a bounce here after selling this morning here. I don't know if this is going to market turnaround yet. It looks like maybe $3 test would be better before we get a turnaround, but we'll see what ends up happening here with Livewire. It's not really making a high volume move.
You think that this might be slowing down from what it did yesterday? Think maybe some of that momentum here is abating a little?
Oh, sure. I think the whole market's kind of just getting exhausted here. That's where we're seeing a lot of these names that ran yesterday come in.
By the way, SPY here doing exactly that. So SPY pulling off of that 593 area here. So far holding on to 590. We'll see S&P futures ticking down here. We actually just went green red. We're basically at break even. Okay, really quick here. Yassine, I'm sorry this took so long. I absolutely should get back to this. This and SMCI we'll take a look at. Here's Okta. Now, Okta, the interesting thing for me as far as a trade goes here, where do we close? Because, man, when we got the print yesterday, we sold right down to that 50-day moving average. And in the after hours yesterday, you can see we actually held that 50-day area for some time. Now, this morning, we got a little bit more oscillation here. I want to see how this closes. I would imagine there's probably people running for the exits here, not necessarily because they're scared. Maybe they're just kind of closing a position here. I want to see if we can recapture this. Can we get above this 110.60? This is down 12.5%. I think the options, what were they pricing in on this one? We talked about this yesterday. I just can't remember. Options were pricing in a 10% move. The option buyers ended up winning here on Okta. Cybersecurity, and we're actually seeing some other cybersecurity stocks trade pretty well, namely CrowdStrike. Shout out Amanda, you were all over that one. PanW having a pretty decent day today. As far as Okta goes, let's see it recapture the 50. I also have this downtrend line that goes all the way back to Liberation Day and then also the retest here on April 21st. This would be the next target down. It's currently lining up with the 100-day. Yassine, it's really about this 110.5 level here today. I think if we don't close above this or if we can't recapture this, we'll probably test this 102 area next. Zach's talking about a gap fill. This gap fills down here 104.
Yep, that's what I'd be watching for because to your point about the 50-day SMA, already tried to recapture it this morning, failed to do that. I think that's really what it's going to come down to when it comes to Okta. If we do not get back above that 50-day SMA and close above it, then you might see that gap fill later on this week. Like I think that could be a completely plausible scenario. So I think that's what I'd be watching for. If you're long Okta and you're looking for more highs or for it to go back up, I think that 50-day SMA is what we need to close over.
Okay. That to me tells the story here for today. Yassine, let me know if there's anything else that we needed to cover there. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to this. SMCI, this was the other one that we got asked about here today. This to me is interesting just because Nvidia is reporting here. Again, a carryover from our happy hour discussion was that the getting paid for orders is really what kind of set off the series of bad events that really caused SMCI to get short reports and get hammered, delay their quarterly report, the whole 9 yards. So we'll see here if there's anything that we can draw on for the Nvidia report here. I would imagine this is going to trade with the Nvidia report. Good news here. This is sitting right at that 200-day, right? We popped above this. We gave it up. We went back into the channel. We traded sideways a little bit, vacated the channel. Then we popped above the 200, back tested it and held it, which is a good thing. I think if this holds post this Nvidia earnings print here today, you can probably target a swing trade up to a 47 here in SMCI. I think it might just kind of trade with that, with some of the, what do we want to call it, the positive momentum. If Nvidia does in fact get that, that's kind of how I would approach SMCI here. 13, I know we didn't talk about this, but do you have anything on the SMCI chart or thoughts that we should be looking at?
I'll look at the chart in a bit. As far as the business side of things, I think you pretty much hit the concerns that I have. So I don't have a whole lot to add. Just wanted to mention that SGN, we did get over 4, so that Head and Shoulders was invalidated. Took out the shorts. Still don't really think the volume's the greatest, but it is continuing to push up here. So I can provide maybe some potential targets where this goes using some trend lines, even though I don't feel very confident about this stock getting up to certain some of these prices. But if we start with the 9 o'clock trend high and the 9:15 high on the 5-minute chart for this, using those highs, you can draw a trend line that would indicate that this looks like it could go to 6 and maybe.
Oh gosh.
So we'll see if that's what's ends up happening. I don't have the greatest amount of confidence in it because we would need to see more volume than this, in my opinion.
I was still on SMCI. I'm sorry for not changing the chart fast enough.
That's okay.
By the way, really quickly, we talked about that Head and Shoulders being invalidated. I think we can delete these now.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
So because once that pattern doesn't work out, I'm on to looking for the next thing in this stock. And right now, it looks like that trend line. I mean, you can even draw it with yours. It looks like that trend line is going to be the thing to watch for here, because I don't know what's going to end up happening with this. I don't have a lot of confidence with this. The stock right now, and the company that they're picking up is the one that has all the money. So I don't really think this is going to do too much. Maybe I'll be wrong about that, but if there is going to be some upside, I think this trend line is what we're going to want to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, Tempest extending its move down. We talked about TEM. It was down just shy of 11%. We're actually down 12.5% now. It looks like the bottom is not in here. TEM. We'll see where this settles here. I got no position on this, and I am certainly not looking to trade this ahead of the Nvidia earnings. Bull here, ticker BULL. This is Weeble. I know this has been kind of a show favorite. Actually, it looks like this might be curling. 15-minute chart doesn't look too bad here. We'll see if we can trade a little bit higher. Maybe the low has finally been put in here at $12.
That's coming up to a pretty apparent resistance level. It's pretty much right there, using the lows from the early May lows, yeah, and
Right
then
in here, yep.
And then some of the recent highs. Like, this is trying to get up into that. So this is either going to be a rejection site, or we're going to break into this level, and it might get some better price action.
Amanda's asking, can you guys get me a downside target on snow for my July iron condor? So you're looking for a support level here on snow for the purpose of your iron condor for July. Sure, we can try.
How about 184?
Well, I couldn't even get the chart pulled up before 13 threw that one out there. We'll start with 184.
I mean, don't even zoom in. Just put a horizontal line out there. Make sure you got it 184, and then take a look. I think that might be a good one, because, and I'll explain why. Prior to the, I think this might have even been earnings on May 22nd or 21st. But prior to this gap up, it was running up to 184 and just having a hell of a time trying to get up into that. So I think I'd have to go and check and see if that was the reason why there's this gap here, if it was earnings or not. But if it was, then there was some kind of, it was a good earnings print. It was the lift that finally needed to get over 184. But coming up to this resistance area that you've already got there, this trend line could get rejected. And if it does, I think that that gap could fill back all the way down, and maybe even find some support at that 184 area. So go ahead and zoom in now, because I think it'll be pretty apparent why I like 184. Yeah. So I think that'd be the best. I think that'd be the target I'd be looking for on the way down. And if we don't fill that gap, then wherever that gap starts. So what, 192-ish?
I would say if this really turns around here, I could also add 175 past that 184 target. That would be the bottom end of this consolidation area, or thereabouts, maybe the bottom end of the gap, right before it busted through that 184, which is clearly a key level here.
Okay, so that was earnings. They had it on after hours on the 21st. The following day, it gapped up, so that's what that was. So that's kind of what I would be looking at. The earliest levels that I like going to be 192 and 184.
Jay here, Jay Channel, giving you for the snow gap filling at 184. My goal is there on the short. There you go, Amanda. Let me know if that helps at all. The funny thing is that snow stock has gone down with good earnings over and over historically. Okay. All right. Looks like ESPN is breaking hearts right now.
There's the bearishness. So 427 the high, and I guess this is what I was alluding to with, I didn't have a lot of confidence in this.
Yeah, it went right to the VWAP too, 13.
Yeah, so it's right back down there. I don't know that it's going to get to that $6 plus level that I was outlining earlier, but just make sure you have your stops, or you're protecting yourself if you're trying to trade this one. Meanwhile, we still have other names that look like they could provide better trades. SPRO and SGBX still not out of the game yet, but not really doing a whole lot either.
Okay. All right. Looks like some talk here about Nvidia. Let me go back and try to find that initial comment here. Lion here mentioning, I'm kind of not so confident about the Nvidia guide with the government block on their chips to China. So I actually covered this earlier this morning here, Lion. Couple of things to keep in mind with that real quick. Let me actually see if I can find that for you here. Go ahead and throw this in the chat and make sure I think this is it. Yes, here's a story about that. Covered this a little bit earlier. You had a couple of things going into this. Sorry, I'm trying to find this here. Here we go. A couple of things to keep in mind on that note. There's a $7 billion chip deal with Japan that they're looking into. They not long ago, we had an 18,000 chip deal with Saudi Arabia's AI startup Humane. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then it also plans to release a cheaper AI chip to the Chinese market in a bid to get around those export restrictions. So, Lion, I think your read here on the guide being so important is correct, but I think there are a couple of other things to watch for here today. Ultimately, if they guide down here, I think that probably pummels the stock. So I think if that's what you're looking at here, I think you're probably safe with that one. We'll see. We'll see what they say about the rest of that stuff, though.
Yeah. I had a comment I was going to make on that. Let me think about what I was going to say.
Maybe Amanda's comment will jog your memory here. I think Nvidia cannot give good enough earnings and guidance today to not sell off. So Amanda here saying that no matter what they report, they're likely going to move down. Expectations are too high and premium sellers are going to win here. And quickly turning into our options expert, one of them.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the whole chip controls, and that's not something that is just now starting to go forward. We have had some element of chip controls going on since the end of last year. So this first quarter, I think, is actually going to reflect a certain aspect of chip controls. But I think the question is that going to get worse as time goes on? And while it's nice that we are seeing some more countries and businesses looking to spend billions on Nvidia chips. Seems like I don't know if it's going to be enough to replace China's appetite for these chips. Is one of the things I'd be worried about. They're a big buyer of these. And also, there might be, one of the things that I think we really should be listening for, if we're listening in the conference call, is see if anybody questions Huang on why he was in China without a jacket. No, seriously, he was in there with a suit. What was that conversation about? Is he like, hey, don't do anything to Taiwan, or else our business is going to have a hard time, and then you're not going to get your chips? I mean, what was that?
You know what? I'm sorry for laughing, because you are bringing up a good point. And it, one of the things that we always talk about with Nvidia is, are we going to get analysts that ask any hard hitting questions? Are they all going to be softballs? Right. And to, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Really quickly here, Pete saying same phenomenon as last quarter for Nvidia. Look for everyone to tear it apart. Nothing will be good enough. Nothing. A little afraid of the rest of the week if for tech, if Nvidia doesn't have a 10 million% quarter-over-quarter growth. Your exaggeration is well taken here. Amanda saying, I'm sitting in cash waiting for some nasty tech dips just in case. So maybe an Nvidia pull down in the tech industry will actually lead to a buying opportunity. Looks like several of you are waiting for that. Mike, how about you? I know you're probably not playing the actual print itself, but what are you kind of waiting for out of this print? Samel thinks nothing will be good enough. We talked about this. It seems to be a lot of folks on this side of the aisle.
I feel, they could have some good earnings. I just feel like the bar is continuing to get higher and higher as far as expectations go. And there's just going to be some expectations that may not just get met one quarter, and could be bad.
Smoke Tuna mentioning 13. It is like when you enter an Asian home, you have to remove your shoes. Let me ask you, Tuna, is this really an Asian thing? I was taught from a very young age, when you go to somebody else's house, you take your shoes off. I always took my shoes off at the door, no matter what door I went in. I thought this was just a common thing. Apparently, it's not the case. People are on both sides of the aisle here on this one.
Yeah, leave all the bullshit you tracked in at the door.
Exactly. This to me is an easy one. I don't see the argument on the other side.
I don't require people to take off shoes.
Well, yeah, I generally don't.
I have hard floor, so
I generally don't require people, but I definitely, I don't. As soon as someone comes to my home, I don't tell them what they need to do. That to me is off-putting. Instead, I ask them if they'd like something to drink. My significant never does. It's a common thing. Okay, Mama Bear. So I was raised right. Good. I hate wearing shoes in the house. I got slides that never go outside for that very reason, Jane. I'm with you on that too.
Yeah, man. People have indoor shoes,
Yeah. Slippers for the winter. I mean, look, you grew up in the north.
Some people have slippers. Some people are like, Mr. Rogers, and they have a full-on set of shoes they walk around the house in.
Haven't done that yet. HYLN. I don't think this was on anyone's radar here. Nvidia, let's see how we're doing. So here is Nvidia ahead of the print, down fractionally here. Let me see if I can gain anything from some of the option flow here. Looks like a lot of this is on the call side. There's definitely both, but this is a majority on the call side here, at least for the flow type thing. 140 seems to be the primary target.
I've had 137 marked off here for a while, and it is continuing to just be suppressed by that. I mean, last Wednesday it tried to break over it, but man, it got slapped right down. On the other hand, I mean, this is looking like it's a nice megaphone pattern that's forming here. There could be the possibility of maybe a higher print coming off the heels of the earnings report that broadens this wedge up here a little bit more. But I would imagine that would have to be the breakout candle, because I don't know what other catalysts are coming after earnings.
In Japan, they have shoe dryers. America is so far behind.
Cinderella. I'm sure biology taught you there's just a ton of stuff on your face alone. Never mind what's on the carpet.
So you want to hear a funny story from biology class from college? So we're looking at stuff on slides, and I was like, I finally have access to this microscope. I'm going to figure out what's on my tooth here. And without, I just kind of scraped my tooth and I rubbed it on the slide and I put it under there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh. And I show the teacher and the teacher looks at it. He goes, that's plaque. He's like, this guy's got plaque. And I'm like, hey, asshole, what are you embarrassing me for? I was just trying to ask you what this is. Anyway, looked at my own plaque under a microscope and went to the dentist shortly after that. So I got some of my own medicine, you might say.
Fahad is asking about what's about some quantum stocks adjacent to Nvidia earnings. They can pop, BBAI, SoundHound. They all look like they're kind of, going through this similar setup right now. I'm waiting for that earnings print. Like SoundHound, for example, to me, it looks like $12 is the big important resistance level that the price needs to get over. With regard to BBAI, I would put it at like 480 would be the level it's got to get over. Maybe even 5 if you want to make it a nice round number. But it looks like they're trading up to these resistance levels. So there's this case where if Nvidia earnings doesn't impress or it causes a sell-off, then you have all these other AI names that have just recently come up to those important resistance areas that are also selling off with it. I don't know that exactly what kind of price action you're going to get with some of these names, but I think that if they had a past correlation with Nvidia, like they had like SoundHound and BBAI did, maybe they do end up running if Nvidia's earnings are good.
Yeah, I'm wondering that myself because, again, I know at least with SoundHound, that thing's no longer a connection. I can't remember. Is the same here on BBAI?
What was the question?
Is BBAI still related to Nvidia? Because I know that SoundHound, that stake that Nvidia took has been dissolved. That's over. That's done and in the books.
Well, what I'm saying is it doesn't even matter if they are still owned by BB or by Nvidia or not. I think that past correlation
is going to cause it to be a catalyst.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. Gotcha. Veru here. This is a stock that we have traded before on this program years and years ago. It was, I think, double digits when we traded this before. This is a penny stock now. It is ramping here, but be careful with that. We should all have enough experience. Joby actually looks like we might go for some new intraday highs here on Joby. This thing's been strong all morning. Livewire pretty much gave that back. Yikes. And what do we have on those halters? SGN came back into the VWAP, really couldn't muster up anything. What was that other one? SGBX? Was that the... I think I'm getting that right. Let's check.
Yeah, SGBX, yep.
Safe and Green Holdings, that's been kind of a bummer. Not a whole lot going on. Abercrombie,
that one.
Abercrombie dipped back beneath 100, but so far is holding up here. Let's see, what else do you guys have?
Well, Kaz, with regard to AMD, their story hasn't been, with this massive revenue growth that Nvidia's had, in part largely because of China. I know that AMD is, does have a segment of their business that the chips are still being sold to China, and chip curbs are going to, hurt that segment as well. But I don't think it's going to hurt AMD nearly to the scale that it would hurt Nvidia, because of how much more revenue Nvidia is getting from China with their chips. So I think it's just that's just the difference. Yeah, they're both semiconductor companies. Yeah, they both have business in China, but a large portion of Nvidia's revenue is coming from China compared to AMD's.
UNH here, this Moj, I think you had said UNH is breaking out. I'm not sure that I would consider this a breakout. I would consider this really good action, though. This is doing a decent job holding above 300. Again, shout out to Bigabees for alerting us that this has really been, the buyers have been stepping in and buying the dip every day that this thing has been down. Looks like we're trying to trade back and close above 300 here on UNH. I would imagine if we do that, maybe we could set up for another move higher here. Ultimately, though, 13, I think the big thing, I'm not sure if the last shoe has dropped in this story here yet on UNH. Action here today is pretty good, plus 2.3%.
Yeah, I think what I mentioned this yesterday in Happy Hour. What I'd be looking for with UNH is that mean reversion that we need to still get. Still, pretty good distance away from the 20-day SMA. At this current price, this represents about a 13.5% decline away from the 20-day SMA. So I would still expect the United Health to try and trade back up. You can even draw a trend line here from these recent highs that we've been getting. Well, it's been trying to, mean reversion. Start with the high from Tuesday the 13th, and then the high from Tuesday the 20th. So got to clear this trend line. So once we do that, I think you'll end up getting that mean reversion. But I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot of price action beyond, I guess I would say 340. I don't know that we're going to fill that gap. I think we're going to come probably up to it. That 20-day SMA is going to get in the way. I think it's going to cause a reversal.
Okay, good stuff there on UNH. Let me know how you folks are trading this. Are we long? Are we short UNH? TTD, really quickly, just to check in with this is another trade I took yesterday. We'll see if TTD can keep rolling here. Took a starter on this, so if this goes against me, we can add. Like to see it try to pop here today. Just didn't have the follow through, at least not yet. We'll see here. These were the July calls on TTD.
I would really like to see a high volume move through $80 up to, and then take it up to the 500-day SMA. But once we get that, I think that would be, probably a selling indicator, because the price would be extended pretty heavily at that point. I mean, we've come off the low here back from April 7th, like so many other stocks. This is now up 76%.
Yeah. Massive move off those lows. I like how I ask, how are people trading UNH? I immediately get long. And then right after that, the very next comment, short. That is perfect. That is what makes market. We got people on both sides of that. That's what I love to see. Love to see here.
And Mike, that's kind of where I'm also at with this right now. I don't think it's been made apparent just how bad the situation is for United Health. I don't think that's been made apparent yet. There are lawsuits that are going to be coming. What this audit of Medicare and Medicaid that's going to be taking place that could hammer all these different health insurance companies, that remains to be seen. There's a lot of things that still have yet to be fully realized here when it comes to not just UNH, but the health insurance industry as a whole. So I think there's a lot more caution that needs to be exercised when it comes to these. But for in and out trades or for swing trades, don't let me stop you guys from hitting these. If you have a plan, execute it. But I don't know if I'd be a long-term holder in these health insurance names right now.
And you know what? It's totally possible that we see some violent short-term movement in both directions prior to reestablishing the long-term trend. So to 13's point about, being active in trading this, don't let us shake you from that. We're just telling you what we see here in the charts. 13, I think you and Mike are both spot on there. I think we are going to get more information about how bad things actually were via some of those lawsuits, and there might still be another move here in UNH.
And I got to address level because I've been asked about this this morning, and I haven't really touched on it. I was getting asked, about if this is a good long-term holder, if this, where this is going to go. I don't know about a long-term hold. This isn't really something that fits my criteria for a long-term hold. So I really can't speak on that. Where this goes is what I'd be more, I think I'd be able to kind of give you a better idea. One of the earliest things I see right now is that the price came up, tried to capture for the first time ever the 20-day SMA, and so far that has been nothing but rejected. So seems like this may just kind of trade in a range. That range could be, maybe from about 1150 to 14. That could be the range it trades in, but until we get above that 20-day SMA, I don't think this is really going to do a whole lot. There might be some other news coming that I'm not sure about, but if this does get back above the 20-day SMA, I think your next target for upside is going to be $19.
Good stuff, 13. SGBX, BROG, these both movers from the day, they look like they're kind of dying out here. Livewire actually looks like it might be going that way again as well. Cattle, this is one that we've traded before. Candle Therapeutics, this is actually moving here. They're trading higher. That the company announced it received Regenerative Medicine Advanced Therapy designation from the FDA in its lead candidate, CAN 2409. So positive data news here, a little bit of a volume pop. Cattle is higher. I don't know if we have much carry through here on that. Amanda mentioning, as far as UNH goes, all of that sucks. Like, listen to our entire argument. Yeah, you guys are right, and that sucks, but money. They have a huge pile of cash that they're sitting on. And Amanda, I don't think you're the only investor looking at that. I think that's one of the reasons why you're getting some of these buys down there.
That's not going to be great for when they go through these lawsuits and they have to initiate discovery. Oh, you have a lot of money? Well, guess what? We can pay out all these claims. We can pay these people. We can do all this. Look at all this money you have. That's not something you want to be, touting or having to, in public view. If you're about to get the pantsuit off you, I don't think that's great at all. So.
Mike here mentioning that can't believe anyone is buying GME at these levels. They add Bitcoin to their treasury. This thing goes down. Never forget the day where Tim was seriously trying to give you a long-term stock idea and somebody came in here and said he was grifting a stock and instead recommended GameStop. Never forget. Anyway, GameStop here, minus 8.5%, straight down from the open. The very, very quick bounce was very short-lived. Where do we think Tesla's going today? My thought is that Tesla stays green here today. As far as a specific level, I don't really know. Looks like it did find some resistance up there at 365. I would imagine that this probably stays green after that space flight. Market could totally change that. Market here, speaking of the broader market here, we dipped a little bit, but we're really not selling off yet. This is down fractionally. I mean, down not even 0.2% here. I wouldn't be surprised if this turned around either. We generally see more weakness there in the morning. Also wanted to comment on this. Fahad, really good stuff here, Fahad. It almost has me wondering if You have some type of spy equipment set up for the happy hour. Just kidding. You are talking about a lot of those stocks that we talk about in happy hour. One of our everyday guests is a real estate expert. She's extremely generous with sharing information and her thoughts on a lot of these stocks. So we talk about them. Couple of things about this. I don't necessarily have a view on Lennar at the moment. I would imagine, given this, given where this is at, this is a fairly significant volume level. I don't necessarily know the outlook here for Lennar. I understand it's a pretty depressed price. It is at a support level, so maybe it makes sense for a bounce. I just don't know if the next move is going to be higher. Conversely, one of those builders that we did talk about, especially breaking down the recent earnings call, was Toll, ticker TOL. They do more of the affluent home buyer, and their earnings report was all smiles. And, well, I'm not going to give you the Jerry Jones quote there because I'm just going to embarrass myself. But this was a pretty good report. Everyone seemed happy here. They really seem to think that as soon as we get an interest rate cut, everything is going to be great. I know that you were kind of talking about, you had mentioned here, surely we will get relief sometime in the next 12 months. Maybe, and don't ever call me Shirley. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to get a rate cut. I feel like we'll probably at least get one. And it sure seems like from all of the experts is that when rates tick down, you're going to get an influx of buying. That should be great for stocks like Zillow, which you also mentioned here. Zillow is really just beating the pants off the competition, according to some of our experts. A Rocket, ticker RKT. This is one that we have talked about. I actually took Leaps, a long-term trade on this one. We took the 15 calls for March of next year. Again, that's on the back of thinking that we are going to get at least one interest rate cut, and home buying and mortgage origination should pick up. So I don't have anything on Redfin or Lennar. Bullish on Zillow, bullish on Toll, bullish on Rocket, and actually already have an executed position on Rocket. Hope that helps. 13, if you had anything you want to add, please feel free, along with anyone else in the chat.
You could also include some of those, in addition to the home builders that you mentioned. There's also DR Horton, which caters to the middle income, lower income consumer. That might not do as well as Toll, but when we do get the rates to come down, then you might start to see DHI turn around. It's really going to be about affordability when it comes to this particular type of consumer versus Toll Brothers, market that they're after. And then, of course, the mortgage companies that could also benefit you. Rocket Mortgage was one of them. United Wholesale is another.
UWMC.
Another. There's another one that starts with W that I can't think of off the top of my head, but keep an eye on those mortgage companies as well. Those could also begin to move in addition to these builders.
The long and short, yes, I think we do get a cut at least, and I do think it should help the housing. When does that happen? Well, gosh, your guess is as good as mine. I do think that's going to be in the back part of the year. I don't think we're lining up to get one of those here in July, per se. SGN looks like that's getting a lot of mention here. SGN looks like this broke the VWAP and has now moved lower. Signing Day Sports, ticker SGN. Hopefully nobody got hurt on that one. Joe saying Toll Brothers is such an ugly name. I either think of chocolate chip cookies, which are not ugly, or going over a bridge. That's what I think about. You worked for Zillow. What can you tell us about Zillow? Where do you work now? Why are they getting halted? Smell, what is getting halted? Maybe I missed something. Candle down. PLRZ. Is that the Polyrizon? So this is getting halted because of the extreme moves in a short amount of time. I know you're probably looking at this like it went from 136 to 112. What the F is that? Jonathan, I think you had mentioned earlier, stocks that are under $1 when they start the day under $1. Remember, Polyrizon, this closed at 67 cents yesterday. These are more susceptible to halts because that range that it needs to travel is much more doable on some of these smaller names. Jonathan, I think that you were mentioning that this morning. Sorry, 13, get in there.
They reverse split.
Okay, so they shrunk the float anyway then.
They reverse split. They did it yesterday. Well, it was effective yesterday. One for 25. They
One
also
for 250.
Yeah. So this is likely the reason it's moving, because now you have this low float and it's halted on volatility. Keep in mind, this also has a NASDAQ listing notice that they received last week. And they, because they're not in compliance. So here's the whole process of trying to regain compliance. They're going to have to do a reverse split, and likely a capital raise is coming after that. Let's look at their finances. Balance sheet, 2.5 million. And I don't have a read on their income, but I'm pretty sure they don't have income. They probably just
if you switch it to annual, I've got them losing 1.6 million per year per that income statement. Balance sheet only has 2.5 on it. So to your point, I think they will probably need to get some cash.
There you go. So it's halted on. It looks like it's halted on volatility following the reverse split that happened yesterday.
Okay, good stuff there. Good stuff there, Jonathan. Thank you. Closing price can affect the halt brackets for the exchanges. So when stocks are penny stocks like this, they're likely to halt more frequently. That's, I guess, what we've seen here. PLRZ. I would stay away from this one personally. A 1 for 250 reverse split, something's wrong. Good companies don't do that. All right, what else do we have here? UWMC, by the way, ending up on the relative volume scanner as that trades higher here.
Take care, Judge.
Take care of yourself, Judge. Lion here saying UNH and the government are partners in crime. It will do nothing to UNH. It's probably true. HYLN, anyone trading highly on today? This thing is all expanding buying volume and a price that's done nothing but go up. I'm not on this one. Didn't have this one on the list either.
So this power model was selected by the Air Force and Department of Defense for the multi-fuel initiative.
That's what the PR this morning. Carno power modules for fuel flexibility and operational resilience.
So what is this, just like a power generator that runs on multiple types of fuels? Like hydrogen, ethanol, gasoline. That's Eddie is saying that Oklo's breaking out.
Okay.
I was just going to jump on the Highland website here in just a second, but let me. Also, Highland had some insider buying yesterday. This was also one of these. Okay, remember when we saw this when last week? This was trading on the memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, I do remember. Didn't we make fun of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
But now you have, I think that now you're getting some actual weight being thrown behind this, because you have these insider buys. Take a look at that real quick. And they're not substantial insider buys, so maybe that's not the case.
It's a total of 80 grand from the C-suite here on a stock that's, $1.
Yeah.
They're up nicely off their buy though.
11% of the float shortage, 15 days to cover. So maybe a little bit of a squeeze there happening as well. Yeah.
Advanced Auto Parts trading higher. This was a nice move after its earnings beat. This thing was up massively after earnings. Stress relief. Ticker Joby, can you check that out off of the Toyota news? Yeah, we're actually a fan of the eVTOL stocks here. We actually looked at Joby earlier. This is doing a really good job giving us a bull flag up here. It's really kind of holding higher here post this new news. I think the group still kind of prefers Archer to Joby. Interestingly enough, Archer down by 1% here on the back of that Joby news. The news that he's referring to with Toyota, Joby Aviation shares are trading higher after the company completed a round of raising capital, which included $250 million investment from Toyota Motors. Obviously, the good news here is that they're not diluting to get that cash infusion.
Cinderella is wondering what are things Elon Musk buys for his rocketry addiction. So I think you're kind of looking at what the components for Starship and the Falcon 9s, the fuels. There was a while back, there was a fuel play because they had to have a lot of that delivered, by multiple companies to Starbase, but they're trying to do liquid oxygen themselves now. And as far as the liquid methane, I don't know if they're still needing to have that trucked in or not. But that could be one area. It's been hard. I've tried to look for some things that might work for that, but good luck if you want to try to take a stab at it. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of places I could think of to start, but I just haven't really dove deep enough to figure out where they're sourcing all their components.
ITOS also got mentioned here in the chat. ITOS Therapeutic shares are trading higher after the company announced it's looking to wind down operations and is exploring asset sales. So I guess what we would do here is we would see what assets they're trying to sell. Is it intellectual property, patents, buildings, machinery? What is it that they're trying to sell here? This popped the stock. I guess people are looking for maybe a premium to get paid on that. Not one that I would play to the long side here.
Got a 10% owner that just had a big buy. Ecor Capital LLC picked up 38 million of the stock. Yeah, it could be. Let's take a look and see what they've got in the pipeline. Maybe we could.
NVTS kind of at a support level here. This is holding above its impulse move and its retest of that impulse move. This was after the Nvidia news that we got last week on it, NVTS. If you need me to go back to ITOS, I'm happy to do that, 13.
No problem. It looks like for that when we were just talking about IT or whatever it was, they have their Bellarestotug drug going through several cohorts of clinical trials. That one's the most advanced that I can see. I don't know about these other ones. This looks like this is in the space of dermatology. Is that what this is?
Let me check it out here real quick. Sorry, I was flipping around.
No, it might be more. No, it's oncology. This was, advanced malignancies threw me off.
So they were positioned favorably due to their innovative product pipeline, which targets critical pathways in cancer treatment to enhance patient outcomes. Recent clinical data from the Galaxy's lung study suggested that the combination therapy of Bell and Dormistralab demonstrated a promising overall response rate of 66%, significantly higher than the 38% observed with the Dostrimilab alone. So I wonder then what changed here. Maybe it's just too costly and they just want to sell off some of what they have and move on.
I mean, yeah, they're losing tens of millions of dollars every quarter.
Yeah, it says overall, the lack of revenue generation and continued losses raise red flags regarding the company's ability to sustain ops and fund future developments of its product candidates. That tells me that it's probably going to try and sell so it can continue to do this. It can't do it on its own.
Well, I mean, when you look at the balance sheet, that they seem like they're fine for a while, but maybe there are certain trials that's going to take longer than their cash runway has got to offer. So that could be the case. This maybe ending and selling or off some of their current trials that are underway that are just being too costly, and they don't want to pursue the development of that particular one. Maybe they're going to sell off. Like, hold on a second, let me just pull these drugs back up here. Maybe they keep the one that they're furthest along with, the Bellarestotug, and they get rid of EOS 984 and EOS 215, since those are still in phase 1. Just a thought.
Smash up the like if you enjoy 13 and I embarrassing ourselves trying to say these drug names over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you did a good job there. By the way, TEM, Dustin, which we talked about earlier here, this has done nothing but continue to sell off ahead of earnings here. Ahead of Nvidia earnings, excuse me. We first took a look at this when this was down 11%. It's now down almost 17%. It does not look like it has found a bottom. Yikes. Ticker TEM. Man, oh man.
So Spruce Point, a big short seller, it looks like. I'm not too familiar with Spruce Point.
Yep, me either.
See them here and there, but looks like they're mostly a short selling firm. They believe that it has a 50 to 60% downside risk. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the bad report Robert is referring to is that Spruce Point short report. Indeed, this was a Pelosi name. Minus 17% now, moving to the downside. I know some of these short reports we end up trading to the long side, but do not feel great here about TEM. All right, we still got some time here. We're not wrapping it up yet, but just so we're aware of what's on deck, we do have an all access coming up here. Then we're going to have story trading and futures fever. So we're going to have a full lineup here today. Be sure to stay tuned.
So based on when that filing was for Pelosi, which was January 14th, that's when the transaction date was listed. So if we assume that it was either that day or around that day, she hit the bottom or near the bottom of the price action earlier this year. And she's still positive right now. So maybe if there's more pain, if there's any more pain, or if it loses its 200-day SMA, because it's coming down to that could be where, they exit. I'm just kind of like thinking, what they're going to end up doing. I don't know that they're going to pick up more or what's going to happen with this, but man, what a big fall here today. I'd have to think that the Pelosi's won't stick around on this one for too long. If this is going to see more downside, it's going to take it underneath their purchase price.
Shayla Vega with some pretty good insight here for you. That's the thing about these hot Pelosi trades. Every time people get in on these, you got to look for when they lose their steam and do puts or shorts. So I think we could probably expand that from just Pelosi to any of these government folks that get followed. I know Pelosi's the most popular one there. Treat them as short-term trades. Shayla Vega, I think that is a good recommendation there. Treat them as short-term trades, right? Treat them as such. You can keep yourself protected there.
Looks like SPRO is trying to move.
Okay. Watch that. 215 is your VWAP that we need to move through there.
Yeah. Is she still involved in government? Probably, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware. Didn't she say you could have her position when you pry it from her cold dead fingers? I could have sworn I heard her say that.
Well, that's okay. Well, more power to her, I guess. SPRO halted the upside.
PLRZ, glad I'm told you that I thought that was junk. This ripped to the highs here. 160 looks to have stopped it here. PLRZ. Sorry, Samel.
Okay, so yeah, she is still in the house. Thank you, ET3. Just we after losing the speakership, it's just like we just never hear from her anymore. It seems.
All right, looking around here real quick. Bitcoin holding down here at 107. VIX looks like that bottomed at 18 and change. Back above 19 now. S&P did break 590 to the downside, just kind of hovering right beneath that here. Smoke Tuna mentioning that all the movers today smell. Yeah, not great, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're stinky.
I don't see anything else great on here. Didn't really see anything amazing with the unusual options here. Advanced Auto Parts looks like some put buying happening on that. This thing has been straight up since earnings. Prior to this earnings report, the stock was $30. It's $52 now. It's almost doubled. EYPT, I just noticed on the scanner. There's a nice blast from the past. This was a huge winner for our group. Thanks to Zoltan, who did some really good due diligence on this one. iPoint ripping here. Did we have any news on iPoint? Yesterday morning.
Oh, is it?
What?
You said iPoint, EYPT?
EYPT, yeah. They had some news here yesterday, including some insider buying activity. Yep.
Okay, so they completed their enrollment for phase 3.
Yep.
For DuraView. This is their big drug product.
I think this was the only competition for them was Regeneron.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember who the competing drug. There was only one other competitor for this company, though, which is why it was such a good trade back in the day. Maybe we get that again here, EYPT.
So this is for the Lugano trial. They have a Lucia trial that they are also trying to complete enrollment, and that is expected to happen in the third quarter. So you might get another move like this today, in that quarter as well. Also, the Lugano trial, they're expected to get top-line data in mid-2026. So you have some future dates to look forward to here with EYPT.
Okay, good stuff there. Chris, long Tesla. All right, I think we're probably done here. We're going to head over to All Access 13. You got any closing comments for the group here before we move over?
Yeah, folks. I'll see you on the other side of Nvidia earnings. I think that's what this market's holding its breath for. So when we finally exhale, I'll see you on the other side. We'll probably be flying along in our sails. And I'll see what the market gives us tomorrow when I come back on here. So until then, everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the Nvidia earnings. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
All right, well done, 13, and we will enjoy the NVIDIA earnings party later today. Remember, NVIDIA reports after hours here today. Before we do that, though, we've got an All Access, and we're going to figure out what's going on. We're going to bring on former Caitlin Clark personal therapist, Dan Leach. Dan, how you doing here today?
Well, she never really had emotional issues. It was more just physical stuff. I helped her with the 3. I have a majestic 3-point trajectory. I kind of made it amazing as a kid, and then it's really become transcendent.
Okay, well, that you learn something every day. The more you know, with Dan Leach here. Dan, what do you got coming up on All Access?
Well, first off, it's been
too
long.
I'm glad to see you again, for one.
Interviewing, it's great to see you too. I do have my man Mike Levin, the president, COO, and CLO of Consumer Portfolio Services. Very looking forward to talking with him.
Okay,
Ryan.
Awesome. Glad you finally realized it. Take care, Dad. Good luck with All Access today.
Yeah, you realize it too. Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I do have a wonderful... And friends, welcome to All Access. I do have that great guest, Mike Levin, the President, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Legal Officer of Consumer Portfolio Services. The NASDAQ ticker is CPSS. He is joining us for an exclusive talk today. It is my pleasure to welcome him in. Mike Levin, the President, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Legal Officer of Consumer Portfolio Services. Great to be with you,
Hi, Dan.
Mike.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Mike, let's start out here. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at Consumer Portfolio Services.
Yeah, I've been with CPS for 24 years. I started off as the company lawyer and sort of moved my way into the executive ranks and now fill several C-suite roles, including talking to people like you.
Well, that's always an honor and pleasure for sure. And it's why we're great. And we're really excited to have you today. Tell people a little bit about what Consumer Protection Services does.
So we are a subprime auto lender, primarily lending to the average Joe. Our average APR is 20%. We've been in business for 33 years. We've been publicly traded for about 20 years. We buy contracts from automobile dealers, and we do about 1.7 billion a year in subprime auto.
That's big numbers, Mike. And I know you just released your Q1 financials. Can you give me the high-level overview?
The high-level overview is that we just posted our 55th straight profitable quarter, which is great for a public company these days. We increased our quarterly originations by about 30% year over year. We did about 450 million in subprime auto in the first quarter. And we actually lowered our delinquency on our portfolio, which is 3.6 billion quarter over quarter.
And we know, Mike, that we're living in pretty incredible times. AI is a big part of it. How is your company right now integrating machine learning and AI?
So we've been at the forefront of machine learning for our credit algorithm. So every time that an application hits our buy box, our algorithm makes the approval or decline within a matter of seconds. The machine's been learning for 10 years. We update that algorithm every year. And that's kind of our secret sauce that sets us apart.
Yeah, that is quite the secret sauce for sure. And I know you have contracts in 47 states. Are there plans to continue to expand?
We're expanding territories across the country. We have a sales force of about 100 field reps that sort of sell our financing programs to dealers. And we add about 5 to 6 territories every quarter. And we've been expanding and growing coming out of COVID.
No, it's definitely an incredible time for the industry and to see where things can go. And, obviously we know that, the automotive industry with the tariff situation, with things going on, people are rushing to get cars. I wonder, when you look at how the current market right now is shaping the automotive industry from your perspective.
So tariffs actually aren't the worst thing in the world for a subprime financier like us. One of the drivers for profitability is, after we repossess a car, what can that car get at auction? And the higher we get at auction, the lower losses we have, which makes us more profitable. And so higher price of new cars drives consumers to used cars, which then shrinks the used car market, which then gives us higher auction values and lower losses. So not the worst thing in the world, tariffs in our industry.
And do you see, when it comes to just where we're at now, obviously whether the tariffs stay on or stay off, the automotive industry seems like it's just continuing to gain steam for many different reasons. Is that obviously the way you're looking at, how you're going to run your company when it comes to consumer portfolio services?
Well, definitely, Dan. I think in 2022, we did 1.8 billion in subprime auto, and we were getting about 8,000 subprime applications per day. And then this past quarter, we did 450 million in subprime originations, which sort of aggregates out to a year of about 1.9 billion, and we're getting 11,000 applications per day. So the demand for subprime auto has spiked year over year over year. So interestingly enough, there's only about 5 or 6 competitors in our space, and so there's enough business for everyone, especially these days. So demand is high and supply is low.
Yep, that's a good thing to have, and obviously those numbers are incredible as well. Listen, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you today, Mike. Thank you so much for your time. Nothing but the best going forward.
All right, Dan, say hi to Caitlin Clark for me.
I definitely will, but hit a 3 for her on the way out. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right, take care.
That was the president, chief operating officer, and chief legal officer of Consumer Portfolio Services, Mike Levin. Their NASDAQ ticker is CPSS. Now let's send it back to the season 8 winner of America's Got Talent, the great Ryan Faluna. I believe he did Magic that year.
Yeah, so here's the big thing. I was a humongous David Blaine fan for the longest time. I actually cut my teeth trying to pick up girls at college bars doing card magic tricks. So I figured I'd spin that into an ATG appearance. And the rest is history, as they say. I will say I'm getting more and more thrilled that our little interactions here are actually gaining steam with the guests. This is now 2 guests in a row that have made a comment on that. I didn't realize the trouble I would get in throwing Caitlin Clark's name in there. If you do talk to her, be sure to say hi. What?
There's a reason we're high-level legendary people. My dad says I'm in my own mind, but I believe I really am a legend.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't known you for that long, but you are already at legendary status in my book, my man. Also, keep in mind, I am a Chicago born and raised, and I am still a fan of the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Dan, really good stuff there. Thanks very much. We'll catch you for the next All Access.
Always a pleasure, Ryan.
All right. That is Dan Leach. We're going to continue to have some fun, put some more smiles on your face. Hopefully I don't get in trouble with some of this stuff. It is time, though, for story trading. And you know what? Their flexible group, we're actually a couple of minutes early for them, but I think that they're ready to go nonetheless. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Ben, you guys ready to go? You want
ready.
a couple of extra minutes?
I'm always
here?
ready. I'm good.
I thought so.
I'm
I
born
thought you
ready.
were going to tell me you were born ready. I
There
was
you
ready.
go. I just got it.
All right, let's bring on Rhett. We'll say hello. Are we expecting the one and only Godfather today?
He'll be on. Yeah, he should be on.
I figured with us starting a little bit early, maybe that's the case here. Look, I'm just going to ask you right off the bat here. First of all, what are your thoughts on Nvidia earnings, which are going to be the big afternoon event here today? And are you playing TEM on the Spruce Point short report at all?
Well, my thoughts on Nvidia, I don't care. That's my thoughts on Nvidia. Do not care.
Okay. Sweet.
Market's over the 200 DMA. I'm stock picking on individual catalysts, and it's doing great. That's that. TEM, I've seen it all over my stream this morning, but I didn't even have a chance to look it up. I actually own this long-term in my long-term account, so I guess I got to read up on that. I do not know what they said about that.
I'll give you the long and short. I'm going to encourage anyone to actually look into the short report itself. But we talk about short reports here quite a bit. With Spruce Point, a lot of the times, couple of days later, these stocks make a comeback. So no guarantee that's what's going to happen here, but maybe this Spruce Point report is actually giving you a buy opportunity on Tempest. I will say I'm a little surprised to see when we first took a look at this today, it was down about 11%. It actually accelerated to the downside. Looks like it did kind of bottom out there at about 16.5%.
Okay, so I'll add that to my watch list. Maybe it'll be maybe the buy opportunity is right there. We'll have to look at that.
Okay.
Very nice.
Have fun today. I'll get out of your hair. I'll see you in a little bit.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. So I'm just going to jump into individual stocks until the Godfather gets here. So, my process is unencumbered at this point. As long as we're over the 200 DMA on the SPY, I'm stock picking, and I kind of ignored the noise of what's happening with the mega caps and the indices. So that's what I'm doing. That's my process. A lot of exciting things going on this morning that we've been focused in on. Bull, WeRide, Spyro, Fannie Mae, and I got a bonus for a CLBR and then maybe Geo. And I'm going to make a deal with you guys in a minute. I'm going to give you an awesome stock pick. And if you make money on it, then we'll talk. All right. I'm going to give you an idea. Just give me a few minutes. All right.
There he is.
Here with us. What's up? We started a
Hey,
little
good
bit
morning,
early.
guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
So, I started with my macro thoughts, basically saying I don't care, right? So I'm gonna go into some individual stocks, and then I'll let you take it over and let you have some macro thoughts if you have. But just gonna reiterate, since you may have missed it, we're over the 200 DMA. I'm no longer seeing that kind of one-to-one correlation. If markets go down, everything goes down. Individual stock picking, and I'm very confident about that. So individual stock picking, there's a bunch of things I'm focused on here. Webull, very interesting level. All right, we've been all over this for weeks, nailing every single pop in this stock here. Right now, it's at a level that could get a little more interesting for the crowd. A lot of these pops in here, like we nailed this one. We nailed this one right before earnings. You had to look at the 30-minute chart without extended hours data to really see those breakouts. And also understand the event psychology around earnings. Now we're getting to a point where here's a 20 DMA. if we close above this 20 DMA, the crowd may get involved just superficially. So 14, if we close above 14, we can see 16 pretty quickly in a day or two. So it's bucking the market trend right now, but it's pulled back. So that's a big focus for me today is bull. Another big focus is WeRide. WeRide, man, had a good morning, but I didn't really take too many profits here. In fact, I might have even added more on this pop. So WeRide, looking at this 50 DMA break right here. It's trying to hold that 50 DMA, and I'm hoping it does what Pony did after it broke its 50 DMA. Wow, look at this move. Pony, 1, 2. Wow, it just exploded. It doubled in price. WeRide has a long way to catch up with its peer Pony. So it's disappointing me a little bit after it kind of, I don't know if it's failed yet, but it had a nice open, and now it's pulled back right to that support level. So a little bit of pins and needles here for me on that. So Webull, WeRide, all right. Spyro got a 5% allocation in this. Phase 3 ended early due to good efficacy. All right. This is in partnership with GlaxoSmithKline. You can see market cap 135 million. So now you have a phase 3 drug that is maybe on its way to approval. So I'm not smart enough to quickly figure out what this is worth. So I use Grok AI and ChatGPT to come up with what looks like a fair re-rating situation here. And they both came up with price targets of between like 450 and 650, saying that it should re-rate there quickly. And I'm going with that. So this is the one stock that right now is making me money today is SPRO. Apparently there may be some royalties and other stuff, milestone payments coming from GlaxoSmithKline as well. Pretty tiny market cap for phase 3 that's now heading towards approval. At least the company thinks it is. Otherwise, it wouldn't have stopped that trial early. $133 million. So I'm looking for maybe a test of 290 later today, the pre-market high. So that's what we got our eyes on. Another two that I'm going to give you. Fannie Mae. I've been all over this. I'm sure a lot of other people have since Trump has been talking this up about privatization. So hoping this one revisits the high at 1190. All right. Two more, and then I'll turn it over to the Godfather. Columbia, CLBR. Trump Jr. has been pushing this hard. It's been accumulated for a long time. There's a investor event on Tuesday. I think this thing could go into the high teens to mid 20s by the time it trades as Pew, maybe on the first day of trading a PEW. So there's a SPAC merging with Grab-A-Gun. So that's something focused on here today. Now, here's a bonus for you. If you're not part of our Discord community yet, I mean, you are leaving a lot of profit on the table. My account is up like 100. What are we up now? The official account was
186.84%.
187% year to date, closed at a new high yesterday. If you're not part of it, you're missing out. So I'll make you a deal. I'm going to give you a stock tip here. All right. And if you end up making, I don't know, let's say how much does their subscription cost, Rhett? $670 a month. All right. So it's like $800 a year. All right. If you make $1,000 or more on Geo, all right, by Friday, all right, our deal is you're joining our Discord. All right. You go to storytrading.com. You can join us at Geo. My prediction for you here is that Geo is going to have news within by Friday morning, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow morning. And then Geo is going to rocket to about 28.50, maybe 29, but let's just call it 28.50, 50 DMA. All right, quick move to 28.50 on news coming from Geo. All right, I'll just tell you that this potential news is in the public domain. I'm not going to tell you all the details about it. Save that for the Discord, but write that down. If you get into Geo and you make at least $1,000 on the move to 28.50 on news within the next 48 hours, then you hop on to our story trading, you reinvest that money, and you get to be part of our great community. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Godfather.
Yeah, I missed your full comments on the macro.
I didn't have any. I said I don't care. My full comments are I don't care. I don't care. I'm stock picking. But go ahead.
Yeah, so I do actually. I really think the markets are searching for direction here at these levels here around this 59.60 that we're at the S&P, and I think that direction could come from both Nvidia, and I think the one that people are perhaps not paying enough attention to is crowd, which comes on Tuesday of next week. So look, yeah, and we got CRM. I guess that's the other important one, which is the first look. And the reason I mention these two or these three is because if you look at where the leadership has been in this, bounce back off of the lows coming out of Liberation Day, it's been, in the safety trade, software, goods like trades, like CrowdStrike, cybersecurity, software trades. Obviously, CRM is a big component there. Agentic AI agents, and so on. And then, of course, the semiconductor trade. I look at AVGO's chart. I look at Nvidia's chart. I know it's not up a lot this year, but it is still up, some 40% from the lows. So my concern here is these are your three leadership groups, and you're going to get news from all of these. And I think that the bar is high here for Nvidia. I heard. What's his name from Wedbush, Dan Ives, the Permit Bull, giving his spiel this morning. And look, 3 billion beat is kind of what's expected. 3 billion increase in guide is kind of what's expected. That's what we've gotten sort of as a cadence from this company. And I think if we don't get that, you're going to see, some redistribution of the stock lower here. My concern is also there at CRM and also there at RWD. You can just look at the stock charts and see where the positioning stands. So, yesterday's action was all driven by rates. I think that's relatively short term in nature. The funding needs of the U.S. government hasn't gone anywhere. I think there was, some combined positive sentiment, obviously, about delaying this 50% on the EU. So, certainly trade headlines continue to dominate, and that was a positive driver yesterday. But yeah, I really think the market move up here is showing some signs of fatigue. I will say, contrary to that, though, that I was surprised to read yesterday about further headlines that institutions are back shorting again. So, I mean, that can work both ways here. If you think that they're smart, then maybe they're, prefacing this move that I'm a bit concerned about. If you consider it a contrary indicator, retail has been loading all the way through this piece.
Yeah.
And you can see it actually in the calls on Nvidia. There's higher vol on the calls than there is in the put. So, all of this leads me to feel concerned about the positioning. So I'm basically sitting on my hands. I was long Stoxel coming in today. I sold it this morning. I took a small, hedge position on SOXS. Just to see if this thesis plays out, and it's small. Other than that, I've been doubling down on some weakness in some of the favorite quality names. You guys have done a fantastic job, playing some of these smaller intraday momentum names. I mean, it's amazing the calls you've made on levels and your ability to get in and out of those names. But I've just kind of been sitting on my hands there because I really don't see a lot of upside here trading. Or putting on positions that are ahead of the Nvidia numbers. So that's kind of my view on the conscious of the fact that the pain trade thus far has been higher. But I worry that, again, it's starting to run out of steam. So I see some gaps in these charts, right? You see some at 5,700, you see some at 5,300. Obviously, 5,000 is a big level. I don't think we get there. I think the Trump put, as you mentioned on several other shows that we do together, is firmly in place, and I think that's behind us. But anyway, there we are.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to disagree with any of that. What I where I am a little bit different with you is it's not really impacting. Even here, even a SPY moves down to the 20 DMA after some Nvidia, or even the Tesla 200 DMA. I still feel comfortable playing individual stocks on their catalysts, and I guess you're not as comfortable doing that right now.
Well, there are signs that certainly. Well, first of all, you've been making it work, so kudos to you there. You look at risk assets. There's definitely an appetite in the market. Look at crypto, the largest risk asset in the world, and I think that, of course, is seeing some favorable Trump-related messages also, and of course, you got the big crypto conference that's happening right now. I look at One of my other things that I look at for gauging retail sentiment is the high short names. I keep a list of over 20% short interest names. And if it's generally green or generally red, I get a sense for where the risk appetite is in the market. And for the last several days, that list has been generally green, which means, and the people that are responsible for those high short interests are for the most part institutions. People that are responsible for putting them green are for the most part retail. And retail has been weighing more heavily on the scale in the last several.
Okay, let me ask you while you're here. Well, just in our Discord right now, someone put
My
something out on
entire high
MBOT,
short
which is
interest
one of the
screen.
stocks that you had brought to our attention. Are you still in MBOT? What do you think of this news? Someone, I think, in our Discord said it's running up in anticipation of some FDA approval. Is that still a stock that you like here?
Yeah, I have a small position in my long-term account. I no longer have a trade position. I kind of wish I did. I'm consistent in my view there that this is a no-brainer for a larger player in this space as an add-on. I think it's a 510K approval. I think that it's a very high likelihood that they do get approval, and I think it's trading at a fraction of its.
And when is that expected? The decision?
I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Q3 event this year, so it's right around the corner.
Q3. Okay, so it's not like today or this week or something like that. I'm wondering why it's up 10% today. Okay.
I didn't see the news today.
Okay. By the way, look at this. Webull, resilient, heading back to that breakout level of 14. These breakout levels are always a little bit scary for me, as I was telling Rhett earlier when we were on live stream. Do you buy this breakout at 14 for a move to 16, or are you buying the top because that's also resistance? It's always pretty tricky. But I gotta say, with the market down the way it is, this is being resilient, trying to push over the 20 DMA. My bet is, if I had someone put a gun to my head, I would wager that we're going to close over this 20 DMA at 14 today, and we could have a nice rest of the week. But you never know. It's breakout levels are also resistance levels, so a little bit scary here on Webull. Do you have any thoughts on Webull at this level at $14?
Yeah, I think now that the earnings are behind us, it becomes a play on expectations, and you only have to look at Hood. And again, I don't know whether that's the latest action in the last several days is driven by enthusiasm over crypto, and
keeps rubber banding today.
of course, this is a big component of one bullish levers they mentioned in their conference call was Webull, some of the other things. So I think it's trading on a positive sentiment shine to what you're seeing out of the peers.
So what are you doing now?
Fundamentally,
14, are you holding? Are you adding? Are you taking some off the table at this?
I sold on that earlier, Pop, when we were at this 1410 level.
This morning,
So I should have reloaded at 13. Did you? I missed that move, but
I reloaded a little bit too early. like at 1380. Yeah, I sold it like 14, got back in at 1380 now. So
for me, we're kind of in we're in fundamental no man's land here, a little higher than where I think the fundamentals are defensible. So it's not a long-term hold for me at these levels, but it's certainly been trading pretty true to its technical levels. You've called them well.
Yeah, it's been beautiful. All right,
I think
so
it's
let's see.
a day trader.
What's that?
It's a great scalper and a day trader, certainly.
Especially on the warrants. Oh my God, I'm only trading the warrants, not even the underlying. But
yes, when I said I got out when the stock was 1410, I mentioned I should have mentioned that was the Bull Z warrants, which was the only thing I was in.
Yeah, pretty crazy the movements the warrants make. All right, let's see what else we got on our radar. Did you want to comment on any of these other stocks that I mentioned this morning, whether it be WeRide or CLBR?
I wish we had more detail from the actual filings on CLBR to do some sort of a fundamental analysis, but I don't think it really matters. This thing, without question, will trade up again. I think it's into the Tuesday event. You got to think. I mean, look at what Donald Trump Jr. did for our favorite drone play at the time. I think under 14 looks to be.
And these are the same SPAC sponsors who brought PSQH public, I believe. So take a look at what PSQH did on the first day of trading. It went to $35.
Yeah, worth mentioning. This is another one that has listed warrants, traded 240,000 shares today. So there is some liquidity in there. I have been picking away at those, having sold out my position on the strength in after hours last night.
Okay, how about WeRide? You got any thoughts on WeRide?
Not in WeRide at the moment. I was frustrated when I was long in my, starting to build a position in my long-term account. Again, based on that, performance discrepancy between it and Pony, and I was frustrated by the way that it was trading. When it got to these kind of levels, it felt really heavy, and here we are again and struggling again. So I've been remiss to want to do anything other than trade it. And at the moment, I don't actually have a trading position in it. So I'm simply watching it, as I am a lot of these names, because I'm a little concerned that we lose some of the leadership momentum in this market. And I think that people have a bit of tariff fatigue here. And I wonder if that works both ways in terms of, positive developments, which are being well telegraphed, having, much of an upward impact on the market, right? There is an expectation now that we get deals with India, with the EU and others, right? So, I'm concerned about that being a positive bolster to the market.
Okay, we'll see. I'm in heavy at this 50 DMA break. Hopefully it holds and we resume up, but you never know. I may have to reduce my position and cut some losses by the end of the day. Got to manage that portfolio, manage the risk. Couple other things I want to ask you. There's a chat that just came in. I know you are all over MVST. So someone's asking your thoughts on MVST. I missed this trade completely. I mean, there's too much stuff going on. I can't be everywhere, but you're all over this one. What are your current thoughts on
I published a lot of due diligence that you can find on our that you can find on our Discord on this. And the primary comp on this is EOSE. These guys make a slightly different chemistry battery. In fact, wholesale different. This is lithium phosphate battery as opposed to EOSE. Multiple applications. It is for grid stability. It is for can be used in data center applications, but primarily the traction thus far has been in industrial EVs, think large buses and other transport vehicles. Their production facilities are for the most part centered in China, and with the exception of I think 4 to 6% of their revenue in the US, all their sales are either in Asia or in other countries ex the US. So tariffs are not a concern here, but look, battery has been one of those key theme spaces, right? Like LiDAR, like independent power producers or nuclear, or we've seen medical AI and some of these other names. So I was surprised when I did a bottom-up fundamental analysis of this group. Initially, I started with EOSE because I really liked their positioning in the market and their technology. And then I came across MVST and I looked and I said, wow, these guys are actually doing the revenue that EOSE is projected to do in a year. They're doing it now. They're already at the type of margins that EOSE is predicting at maturity. And we're talking, gross margins in excess of 40%, and EBITDA margins that are 25% now on route to 30%. So on a relative basis, it's trading at around a quarter of the value of EOSE, but just on a standalone, straight up, company alone basis, 10 times EV EBITDA, just over 3 times EV to sales for a company without those kind of margins, and top line's growing at 35%. So when I see margins like that, and I see growth rates like that, and I see multiples like that, and I see management that's executing, it's not just about growing, it's about containing costs. And this is a company with 800 patents. This is a company with lots of strategic agreements in place and more to come. They have a backlog which keeps growing, so it's ticking all of these boxes. It's trading as if it's some sort of a development opportunity, or a science experiment, where in reality they're seeing tremendous business traction. So I think it should be trading at least double where it is today.
Wow,
just to be traders.
I gotta find room. You know, for my trade account, I really like trading catalysts that are just about to happen or just happened. So I don't think
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna put
there is a catalyst on this one.
Yeah.
It's well telegraphed, but they're adding over 2 gigawatt hours worth of additional production in a facility expansion that's almost complete. And orders out of that facility expansion will happen in Q4. So it's telegraphed in so much as it's probably in the 2006 sales estimates of 610 million, which again represent a nice gain over the 470 that's expected this year. So it's about execution, and so far they've done that well too.
Very nice. I like that. I
So-
gotta see if I can find space for that. I also like the chart today and its relative outperformance, and pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna look into that. All right, I also wanted to ask you about as we see some good reactions in other stocks. Okay, Fannie Mae. So have you been playing this since these Trump comments started last week?
I haven't, and my view on this, and I'm taking a fairly skeptical view because the billionaire hedge fund community is extremely long this trade, and they have been for a long time. So every time there's a positive comment out of Trump with respect to it, the stock
We're having a hard time.
opens strong and then sells off. And that just tells me that this really crowded hedge fund trade as exit liquidity. And that's the way I feel. Now, last time it traded like this, it then powered up from the lows midday, right to a high at the close. So I've been watching the action. Today, it's actually come back a little bit. It hasn't done, that sort of late day move. We haven't got there yet. But when I see action like that, it makes me skeptical. And this isn't the first time, right? Like under the last administration or the last, Trump administration, he appointed the guy to privatize this, and it basically stalled for 4 years. So, I believe in his ability to get things done. I believe that the fair value in these things is probably double where they're trading today. But my concern is both in the timeline and I'm just looking at the action in the stocks because it's hard to. I think otherwise that for the near term at least, it's a difficult place to be starting a new position in an already very crowded trade.
Got it. Okay, Rhett. While I'm doing a little bit of trading here, I'm actually trying to make room for MVST in my retirement account. While I do that, I'll let you take over and give you go with some of your thoughts.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is I think I may start adding calls here for TEM. Just looking at some of the information.
Oh yeah, good that you brought that up because I do want to ask Godfather about that next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so someone just highlighted a section out of the 20F report, but the section they highlighted wasn't in the report. They edited the report and inserted data to make it look like it was part of the report. Huh. So just pointing that out there. I added a small size for call.
I'm glad you brought that up. Godfather, TEM down 15% on a short report. Do we buy it right here?
I have not seen the short report, so this is new news to me. This is a high multiple stock, but it is the leader in this health AI group. It is, in a group that really doesn't have a lot of peers, frankly. But I'd love to see that report. I'm just looking at the chart here, and I played it around the earnings. It performed much better than I expected, but we're right back down to those levels again. I would think $50, which it's only $5 away from here. I would watch it here. If we get around that $50 level, it becomes more compelling. But again, this is a high beta name, and if beta rolls over here in the afternoon post market, this name's going to go with it. Correlations on a lot of these names will go to 1. So I'm remiss to want to get involved even in specific company specific type situations in front of what could be a big negative beta move. So $50 would be my sort of, from the earnings report, my level of comfort there.
Yeah. You got the 50 and 200 DMA at about 52. We'll see. I'm not sold on this correlation is go to 1. Maybe on the like momentum names that have been moving without a catalyst, and maybe TEM was one of them. Maybe I can see those correlations going to 1. But if it's not a momentum name, if it's moving because of recent, good catalysts or good earnings, and it just has the, market sentiment tailwind behind its back, so it can actually move the way it should, right? On a catalyst or earnings, those type of stocks, I don't think you're going to see correlations go to 1 on market pullback. But stocks that didn't have a catalyst that are just moving up with the market, yeah. If the market pulls back, I think you get a 1-to-1 correlation on that drop. So I partially agree with you there.
Yeah, it's a high multiple theme play.
Yeah. Okay. Let me bring up one more.
Doesn't look compelling.
By the way, what's that?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to point out Bitcoin.
Quickly look at. We only have 2 minutes left. There's a couple other things I want to talk about. Bitcoin. I don't care.
Down
Big spike down in Fannie Mae, by the way.
Oh,
I'm not sure
Fannie
what that's
Mae?
about.
Shit, I'm in that trade. Okay. Ooh, that's pretty big. Maybe someone made a comment somewhere. But okay, in any case, I only got a couple minutes. I want to cover real quick. A big winner for us, which I think still has a lot of room left, is PBI. There it is. Pullback today, down 2%. Next target here is 1093. This is actually my biggest position across my entire net worth. So, I got self-directed 401k, Roth IRA, SEP IRA, trading account, put it all together. PBI is my largest position. I mean, the cash they're just throwing off is incredible. And not only that, it's basically the fact that they keep on raising guidance like every 60 days. Like that's another reason, I'm big into this stock buyback, raising the dividends. It's incredible what's going on with PBI. So a big pick for me, been doing well, and 1093 up there, the proximal high. I think we're heading towards that number. And then real quick, Godfather, yes, thumbs up or thumbs down on PBI. I agree with what you said there.
Yeah, thumbs up. This is exactly the type of name that I'm focusing on at this time. Quality, value, not crowded. In fact, you could say the opposite. Look, there are times to spend more time on your long-term account and times to do more short-term trading. And right now, today, I don't think it's the great to do short-term.
And Ryan,
this is a great long-term.
Ryan,
name.
Before we leave you guys, I just want to reiterate my offer to all of your listeners. If you buy Geo now and you sell it by Friday on a pop to 28.50 and you make a profit at least $1,000, join our Discord and you'll make 10, 20 times that money the rest of the year. So storytrading.com. Watch that trade and look for catalysts, look for news within the next 2 days on GEO.
Okay, pretty awesome. Nice little CTA, nice little call to action to end the show here today. I absolutely love that stuff. Good stuff here, guys. Have a great Wednesday. We'll check in with you. Let us know how that all shakes out next Wednesday.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
All right, that is Rhett, Godfather, and Ben from Story Trading. Awesome stuff there from these guys. You got a lot of good feedback. I don't know if you guys caught that here today. A lot of good feedback in the chat for the Story Trading folks. That does it for us here today. Do not despair. We're going to send you over to Kevin at Futures Fever, and we'll be back at this again tomorrow. Get ready for those Nvidia earnings tonight. We'll catch you tomorrow. Stay green.